Hello and what's up, GSC Pokemon Challenges fam? How you guys doing? We're back. It's episode 15 of the Clair Minimum Battles series. We are getting so close to being done with this, and I am excited to have this finished. Today we are coming in with 14 new challengers. We're going to run all of these Pokemon, hoping that they get through Clair. In fact, I think most of them are going to get through Clair. We're coming in with Porygon, which means we also get Porygon 2 in on the action. We've got Aerodactyl, then Snorlax. Piloswine is here. We've got Remoraid as a member pick, followed by Octillery, that's legitimately in the action. Mantine, Skarmory, Houndour, and Houndoom are getting in on this. A member pick, Phanpy, to go together with the legitimate challenger Donphan, and we're gonna wrap it all up with a Stantler. We have reached the point where every Pokemon that gets through this section is going to be able to move on to the Pokemon League, and it's only 2 more episodes till we get to the Will Minimum Battle series. I'm super excited for it, and like I said, I think everything today gets through. I think if anything even has to drop rare candies here, it's probably going to be that Houndour, just because it has a bad typing to match up when we get to Clair. But outside of that, I think every Pokemon's gonna find a way through. We've got things like rollout strats, we've got things like bite strats. A lot of these water types can learn an ice type move if they need it. I just see tons of ways to get through with these Pokemon, and we're getting to some of the best at this point in the Pokedex. I mean, we got a Snorlax here, so I think we're gonna completely crush. Still, we have to see how it actually works out, so let's get into it. And I'm gonna start off with my normal types. We're going to check on the fully evolved normal types first. That's Snorlax, that's Porygon 2, and that's Stantler. Then, assuming Porygon 2 gets through, we'll also look at the Porygon. I mean, they basically got the same moves at this point, and I think all of these Pokemon are going to get through just fine, but let's see how it goes. I'm going to lead off with Porygon 2 here just because I think it's probably the most interesting, but let's find out if it can get through easy or not. So I just kind of randomly chose Porygon 2. I was watching a Porygon Leer video earlier in the day, so I guess that's what influenced me here. Anyway, we are coming in with a moveset of Psybeam, Recover, Agility, and Conversion 2, and I think we're going to be able to get through this section. The only real question, or the only real issue that we could possibly have, is the Dark type that's coming up, but we are going to learn Tri-Attack at level 36. I'll have to debate what move to forget at that point in order to learn the Tri-Attack, and it might be that we just run Tri-Attack as our move for the next foreseeable future. Like, we could forget Psybeam. We have so many special moves that are available to us, but I think going for the stab might be the way to go. Alternatively, maybe we finally give up on something like Agility and just go Recover and Conversion 2. I'm not sure. I'm going to test a lot of things and just think about how I want to actually attack this section of the game. The big thing here is that if we do have Conversion 2 with Recover, then as long as we can survive one hit, we can often get a better typing against our opponents, resist their moves, and then just heal up and knock them out. So we might not need Agility with this Pokemon. That might actually be the move that has to go. For now, though, I expect that the Psybeam will get us through these rando rockets pretty darn easily, even though it's not a same type move, since there are so many poison types here. So let's just see how that goes as we go through this section. And here I do level up to learn Tri-Attack. I'm just gonna forget Agility. It might be a mistake. I'm honestly not sure, but I think I want the same type move so that I can affect dark types, and it might just help us in cases where opponents have a lower defense. So let's see if this strategy can get us through. Obviously, you can tell me down below if you think that's a mistake, but I think the combination of status, having a coverage move with Psybeam, and having access to Conversion 2 and Recover will be good enough to get really far in this challenge. We'll just have to see how it actually works out, though. For now, we have made it to the Marlboro Man, though, and this is why I wanted to keep Psybeam, because it's going to be a pretty good move against Pokemon like these poison types. Let's just see how this goes. So Marlboro Man attempt number 1 right here. Let's go for the Psybeam first and just one-shot the first Coughing. That's very nice. Second Coughing comes out. We can completely destroy it. Third Coughing, never stood a chance. We're going to get the Wheezing out now. Let's just go for the Psybeam here. And we don't quite get the one-hitter. It goes for Sludge. I'm just going to go Conversion 2 right here. Becoming a Rock type. Now I resist everything this Pokemon could do. And that is kind of perfect for this fight. Now we can just sweep through the rest of the team and get the super easy victory. So just like that, we managed to get through that executive with no issues. We're going to go to the basement and take on Rival 4, where I think our 2 damaging moves are going to be enough. We can always change our typing if we need to get an advantage on certain opponents. So let's just see how this actually works out with this setup. So Rival 4 attempt number 1 right here. He leads off with the Golbat. I'm just going to go for Psybeam right here, and I get a critical hit one-shot. That's perfectly fine. Magnemite comes out next. I'm going to go Tri-Attack, and the critical hit one-shots that Pokemon as well. Haunter comes out. We can go for the Psybeam and get the KO. That will next bring out the Sneasel. Tri-Attack is my play here. It hits Feint Attack twice, but we easily knock it out in 2 hits. And now Meganium, I'm just going to go with the Stab here. We get the Paralysis from the Psybeam, then it goes for the Reflect. So we'll switch into the Psybeams here and get the 2-hit KO. So very nice. Easy victory there on the Rival. He just can't really stand up to us. We've got status. We've got plenty of damaging output, so we can get the victory. And with that, nothing else here should be a challenge for this Pokemon at all. So let's just crush the rest of these Pokemon and make our way to the final executive with his Dark types. One of the only reasons why we had to add a second damaging move to our moveset. The Dark types are legitimately annoying when you only have Psychic type moves, something that RSC Pokemon Challenges was getting a lot of experience the other day with when he was trying to run a Gardevoir on minimum battles in Gen 3 and just finding that he couldn't even beat random Team Aqua Grunts because they've got Poochyetas and Carvadas that he can't hit with Psychic type moves. So go ahead and check that out if you want to see some actual suffering. Fortunately, here our Porygon 2 has more than enough damage output to get through all these randos just fine. So I think the final executive is going to go down super easy, but we will have to find out. So wannabe Giovanni is going to send out his Houndour here, and we're going straight for Tri-Attack. That is an easy 1-hit KO. Coughing comes out next. We can just Psybeam and destroy that Pokemon. And now we've got the Houndoom. We go Tri-Attack, and we don't get the 1-hitter. Interesting. We actually need a 2-hit KO there to take that Pokemon down, in spite of its fairly low physical defense. That's in spite of the fact that we actually have really decent stats here. So I'm kind of surprised that this Stab would not get the easy KO there for us, but hey, we'll take it. We still move on super easily through that fight. It just wasn't quite as easy as I had expected it to be coming into this. But with that done, we can of course move on to Clair. So far, we're getting through the randos just fine with our damage dealing moves, but we're gonna have to see how we do against the Dragonairs here, and if we can get the KOs that we need. Maybe we need to go for a Pink Bow, or maybe we just stick with this Paralyzed Cure Berry and use that as our way to get through. Let's just test this and find out. So Clair attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to go for the Tri-Attack on the first Dragonair, and we get a critical hit. So we just one-shot that one. We get to level 44 right here. We could learn Zap Cannon. I'm going to skip the move because it is a TM, and we could always learn like Thunder here if we need an electric move. Tell me if you think that's a mistake, but I'm going to go with this for now. Second Dragonair comes out. We go for the Tri-Attack again, but this time it's not a 1-hitter. I'm just going to use Psybeam to knock that one out. The third Dragonair comes out. We can go for the Tri-Attack again. We still had the Paralyzed Cure Berry on, so even though it goes Thunder Wave, we can simply heal up and make it to the Kingdra on full health. I'm gonna go Tri-Attack right here. It goes Smoke Screen. We're just gonna try to stick with this move. Now it goes Surf. I'm going to try to Conversion to this. Unfortunately, we don't get the chance to actually connect with the move. It's failing over and over again. What is this? There we go. Now we have successfully become a Dragon type, and now we can resist that move, except she can go for the Dragon type moves against us, so we'll become a Steel type instead. How about that? Of course, that's going to send her right back to going for Surf on me, so I guess we should just start attacking at some point and see if we can manage the victory between our recovers. We use our last Tri-Attack right there, so from here we'll go Psybeam. It looks like just 2 more Psybeams will get the job done, but we're kind of stuck in this weird like healing loop where every time that she hits us, we can use like 1 Psybeam and then we have to switch. I think she's finally run out of Surf PP though, so she has to go for the Dragon Breath instead, and that allows us to finally get the victory. It was really stally to get through that fight, and Conversion 2 strats aren't necessarily the best. It depends on what typing you become when you start resisting one of her moves. I don't think there's really an ideal typing for that that fight. So it's on that basis that conversion 2 probably isn't super useful there. So we're probably better off just going for the try attacks and trying to get the victory. I probably wasted far too many turns trying to cheese there. So we'll just keep that in mind as we come back next time with normal Porygon. But for now, Porygon 2 is moving on in the game. It's going to go ahead and make its way to Rival 5 and then just stand on the steps of the league. I see no reason this Pokemon will struggle to get to that point. I'm pretty sure we just have all the moves that we need to destroy the rival, but let's see if that's actually the case. So here as we get ready for the rival, I'm just going to throw on a Paralyzed Cure Berry and let's just see how this fight goes. First up, he leads off with Sneasel. We'll just go for Tri Attack right here and get the easy one-hit KO on that Pokemon. Golbat comes out next. We'll switch to Psybeam. Doesn't quite one-hit KO, but it does two-hit KO there, so that's perfectly fine as well. Magneton comes out. This is the Pokemon that I think we needed that Paralyzed Cure Berry for. We're going to go for the Psybeam, not do a lot of damage here. I'm going to take this opportunity to use Conversion 2 to become resistant to Electric-type moves. It still paralyzes me in the end, but we get it confused and we do ultimately knock that Pokemon out. Out comes Haunter. It goes Confuse Ray. It seems like he only goes Confuse Ray with Haunter when you will actually hit yourself in confusion after that. Somehow he knows that you're going to hit yourself, and that's what causes him to use the Confuse Ray, it seems. So here we go down to the curse. We're going to have to try this one again. We might be fishing for status against that Magneton in order to get a victory. This time it just simply doesn't hit us with anything, so we get back to Haunter. We can go for the Psybeam in one shot. Then we'll bring out Kadabra. Now we can just Tri Attack and destroy that Pokemon. We get to level 46 as Meganium comes out. I'll just go Tri Attack here. It goes Reflect. We'll finish it off with just a couple Psybeams, and just like that, we managed to get through the rival on the next attempt. So really, it's just about getting through that Magneton. In this case, I got 2 misses in a row from the Thunder Wave. It turns out that Tri Attack is the better play there. You can also get status with that move, so it just takes that Pokemon down in 3 hits rather than 4 hits, which is much better in that situation. Still, at the end of the day, we've made it all the way to the Pokemon League with this one. I think we've got decent chances going forward. Like against Will, as soon as he uses a Psychic type move, we can just Conversion 2 and reduce his damage quite a bit. And then we've got the Recover strats. So I'm thinking that we're going to be able to get through that just fine. When we get to Koga and Bruno, we'll have super effective moves, and we can always cheese yet again with the right kinds of typings from Conversion 2 to get through there. Karen might be the hardest Elite Four member for us, and by the time we get to Lancey Boy, at worst case, we YOLO into Blizzard Thunder, and I think we have the victory. We'll just have to see how this goes as we go forward, but I think Porygon 2 is going to be really good and probably beat the entire Pokemon League. But with that out of the way, for now, let's move on to our next challenger. I'm going to look at Stantler. I'm kind of interested to see how that Pokemon goes. So picking up with our Stantler here, we know Headbutt, Leer, Mud Slap, and Hypnosis. We will learn Takedown at level 40 in this section, but that's all we're going to get. We can go Nightmare strats if we need something really YOLO. We can go for Stab Return if we need to. Plus Earthquake will be available just before Rival 5, which might help us a lot with the Magneton there. We're just going to have to see how this goes. For now, we're just going to run with our moveset as is. We're reasonably fast. I think in the first Rival 4 fight, we're probably going to have to put Pokemon to sleep, and that's going to be our strategy to get through them, but we'll just see how it actually works out. For now though, I expect our Stab with normal moves to get us through most of these rando rockets pretty reasonably, so let's just see how we actually go as we progress through this section. And sure enough, with no real issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man. I just had a bunch of resets trying to get through the spinner on the floor below this, but really no resets in battle, so let's just see how this guy actually goes. So first up, against the first Coughing, I'm just going to go Headbutt here. It turns out to be a 2-hitter, and we get a Sludge. So that tells me we might want to go Hypnosis on these Pokemon in order to get easier ranges on them. Of course, we can also flinch with the Headbutts here. I just think that as long as our accuracy isn't lowered, the Hypnosis probably gives us better chances of getting the victory, or we can just crit Pokemon, and that works too. Here we get to the Wheezing, and we put it to sleep, and it looks like this one is a 3-hitter. Fortunately, it stays asleep. We'll just Mud Slap there there at the end to take it down. The second to last coughing hits us with a sludge though, dealing pretty significant damage. We're all the way down to 3 HP here as it wakes up. So we're going to have to YOLO on this last one, hoping to put it to sleep and keep it asleep. We'll headbutt right there. It wakes up and hits Smog and I lose. Are you kidding me? Let's try this one again. Now, of course, we could get some lucky flinches and get through that way. But if we get poisoned fairly early in this fight, there's probably no way that we actually get through. So yet again, we have to reset on this one. There is an obvious solution, of course, which is stab return, which would deal significantly more damage. But we'll just kind of have to see how this goes. I mean, it depends on flinches as well. And here in the third attempt, we finally managed to get through thanks to the fact that we did flinch opponents at the right time and they didn't get the super strong sludges on us. So we can actually get through and move on to the basement, where now we've got to take on the rival. We've got Mud Slap to hit the Magnemite and the Haunter, which is not great. We're not super excited about that move, but there isn't anything better that will hit both of those Pokemon at this point. We're waiting till we get Earthquake later, and then that will be the solution for Rival 5. But for now, we're just going to have to try to get through with the Mud Slaps here. Let's see how this goes. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, first up on the Golbat. I'm just going to headbutt this Pokemon. It's going to be a 2-hitter. Wing attack does like 20 damage, but that's perfectly fine. We get to level 35 as we get to the Magnemite. Let's try the Mud Slap here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO, but we do take that Pokemon down. Out next comes the Haunter. I'm going to try to put it to sleep. I miss, and it manages to curse. I was trying to avoid the curse by putting it to sleep. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that, and now the Sneasel is a 2-hitter as it goes Feint Attack against me, and that brings out the Meganium last. We're going Headbutt, doing slightly less than half. It goes for Reflect, and anything less than a crit, we simply lose at that point. We're going to have to try this again, and we're going to have to land the Hypnosis on Haunter if we want to get through. On attempt number 5, I finally get the Haunter to sleep. It's a 3-hit KO, but I do manage to get through with no curse this time. Now we can just Headbutt on the Sneasel and get the easy 2-hitter, and that will bring us to the final Meganium. I'm going to go Hypnosis here just to make it a little bit easier to get through, and I'll give it a Leer. And now let's go for the Headbutt. We're going to get the easy 2-hit KO here, and just like that, we managed the victory. So it turns out the Rival is perfectly fine. You can get through him there. You just have to fish for a little bit of sleep luck to get the job done. With that done though, I expect to completely crush all of these randos. So let's just make our way through them and get to the end of this section. But here with no issues, we make it to the final Rocket Executive. So let's just see how he goes. He leads off, of course, with his Houndour. We're just going to go Headbutt here and get the easy 1-hit KO. Coughing comes out next. It's fairly defensive, but a crit does one-shot, and that brings out the final Houndoom. We just barely missed the 1-hit KO. I'm going to disrespect by going for the Mud Slap, and just like that, we managed to get through the very first attempt on that wannabe Giovanni there. He never stood a chance against the normal type Reindeer. But with that, we're now ready to move on in the game. We've got to make our way over to Clair, and in spite of being a normal type, we don't get a whole lot of coverage moves with this Pokemon, so we don't have an ice type move that we can just throw on to give ourselves a chance here. So we're gonna have to try some other strategies in order to get through this one. If we get desperate, the best play is going to be Max Friendship Return, and we're just gonna have to see if that turns out to be enough to get us through. Still, we're just gonna have to test this and see maybe Headbutt is enough to get us through Clair with the flinch strats, especially since it is a same type move. But I think that at some point for this Pokemon, we're going to have to throw on the Return. It doesn't get any really good coverage moves other than the Earthquake that's coming up before the Rival 5 here. And then once we get to Kanto, we can learn something like Psychic or Dream Eater, but that's really it. It just doesn't have nearly as wide a move pool as a lot of other normal type Pokemon, which I'm kind of surprised about, especially a Pokemon that's kind of modeled after a reindeer. You'd think it would learn some ice type moves, but apparently not. Now, via level up, we could learn Takedown right here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and just learn this move. I'm going to throw it on over Leer. I'm going to keep the Mud Slap for now. That technically gives us a stronger move that just will also have recoil damage, but it's a step before we actually go for the Max Friendship Return here and might allow us to get through some fights that are otherwise impossible. We'll have to see if that move is enough to one-shot against a Dragonair here. I'm going to give a Pink Bow just in case. And with that, at least against the Dragonair just before Clair, I did manage to get a 1-hit KO with the takedown, so maybe that's all we need. Let's test this against Clair and see. So Clair attempt number 1 on the first Dragonair. I'm going to go takedown here, and I do get the one-hit KO with that move. Second Dragonair comes out. We take it down as well, getting the level 41. Third Dragonair comes out. Once again, we take it out. So now we've made it to Kingdra. Here I think we go Hypnosis to put it to sleep. And now let's see what takedown does. It does over half. I think Headbutt will end it. Sure enough, it does. So we managed to beat Clair on the first attempt. No issues. These stab normal type moves are just too powerful for her Pokemon, and that allows us to now move on in the game, where I think our next play is going to be to simply forget the Mud Slap in order to learn Earthquake, and that should get us through the last rival and onto the league. Still, this is one Pokemon that I don't have a clear plan of how I'm going to stunt on Lancey Boy at the end of this. I think we're going to have to keep Headbutt on the moveset no matter what we do, just so that we have that chance to flinch opponents and get through that way. Plus sleep strats, that's probably going to be our best play. We're just going to have to hope that we're fast enough at that point to get through everything. For now, we'll simply make our way to Rival 5 though, and then we're going to have to find our way through the league. But I think having Earthquake on the moveset will help an awful lot in that. We'll just have to see how it actually goes. And here I will simply go ahead and learn the Earthquake that we have available to us. Like I said, I'm going to throw it on over Mud Slap, and let's just see what that does for us as we go into this rival fight. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, we're going to lead off with Stab Headbutt against the Sneasel. That's enough to get the one hitter there. Out comes the Golbat. Let's see if Takedown gets the job done. It does. Now we've got the Magneton. Here's where we go Earthquake and just simply get the one-hit KO. Haunter comes out. We can go for Earthquake there as well, getting the one hitter. The Kadabra, we can simply Headbutt and get the victory. And now it's all about Meganium. I'm going to put it to sleep again. I don't want it to really use Reflect here. We go Takedown, doing over half, and then Headbutt is enough to end it. So just like that, Stantler gets through. It was really quite easy. I took a little bit of time because I was trying to diagnose something on my PC, but at the end of the day, realistically, it was only like 15 minutes of me actually playing the game to get to this point, and we are ready to move on to the Pokemon League with our Stantler. I don't think it has the best strategies to set up in this next section. Like, if we did struggle against Willy Boy, we might have to go for Hidden Power Dark to get through that. Earthquake can get us through a lot of other opponents here, but then when we get to Lancey Boy, I'm not sure. We might have to go for Sleep with Nightmare strats even to get through that fight. We might need some flinches. We might just need some like crazy luck. I'm honestly not sure. We're just going to have to test things when we get there. But for now, this Pokemon is to the steps of the league. It's ready to move on in this challenge. So next up, we've got Snorlax, the hands down most famous and powerful Pokemon in this generation. And we're coming in with Headbutt, Belly Drum, Rollout, and Defense Curl. As long as we can survive against things with our massive HP stat, we can set up Belly Drum and I think sweep through most opponents with the Headbutt. Rollout and Defense Curl are really there for the ghosts as we go through this section. I think everything else we're going to be just fine, but let's see how this actually goes as we go through this one. We've obviously got tons of coverage moves, but I just don't know that we're actually going to need them given our Belly Drum strats here. Plus the fact that we have Stab and Headbutt, and we could always replace that with Stab Return. I think we're going to get plenty of advantages on these Pokemon as we go through, and our biggest issue is just going to be our speed. Now we will learn Rest at level 36, and that could also be a legit strategy to throw on here. The Rest is a TM, so I probably won't learn it immediately. And we could always forget Defense Curl, though, and just relearn that via TM later on. Might not need it if we can just rest off after using our Belly Drum in order to power up here. And with no issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man, so let's just see how he goes with our Snorlax. Of course, he's going to lead off with the first of his coughings. I'm going to Belly Drum here so that hopefully I can just sweep through the team. Now we just one-shot with the first Headbutt there. Second coughing comes out. Headbutt destroys it. Third coughing comes out. We miss and miss again thanks to the smoke screen we took earlier, but then we are able to knock that one out. The Wheezing, we go for the Headbutt, getting the easy one-hit KO. I'm out of Headbutt PP because I didn't recover coming in, so we'll go Rollout against the next coughing and we just one-shot. Then we miss the Rollout, missed the Rollout again. We get poisoned and we're gonna need one more hit and we didn't get it. So clearly we just need to come in with full PP and Headbutt and then we sweep. But let's try this again. So round 2 against the Marlboro Man. Let's once again Belly Drum. He goes Smoke Screen, but we can just Headbutt this first Pokemon down, Headbutt the second one. We get to level 34 in the middle of the fight. We can knock out the next coughing. Back to the Wheezing. It goes Smoke Screen again. We miss and we get poisoned by Sludge. Still, we one-shot that that Pokemon when we do connect. We get Sludge from the next Coughing. That's a critical hit and knocks me out. Now, it might be worth it to set up some defense curls here. I'm honestly not sure. So let's just test it and see. And on this attempt, sure enough, we do manage to finally sweep through. He just loves to go for the smoke screens on the Snorlax, which is disrespectful. But at the end of the day, when you actually manage to land all the hits, you simply win. And he only really takes you down when he manages to get you poisoned or get a bunch of misses. Otherwise, Snorlax isn't too bad to get through that fight. Still, with that done, we're ready to make our way to the rival. We're going to have to see how this one goes. But once again, I'm going to try to set up with the belly drum first and then sweep. Let's see how this works. So first attempt against the rival, I'm going for the belly drum right away. We get confused and hit ourselves in confusion twice. And now we're below half health, which is actually okay. Because when you're below half health and you use belly drum in Gen 2 only, you actually get 2 stages of attack boost just from using the belly drum in that situation. So we're going to try this again when we actually are able to hit. Maybe now we can get a victory. We one-shot against the Golbat. Magnemite comes out. We simply headbutt and destroy it. That brings out the Haunter. I have to go roll out here, but we're going to one-shot that Pokemon. Sneasel goes quick attack. We go roll out and knock it out. That brings us to the Meganium. It goes body slam and we lose. So we're going to have to try this one again. And maybe instead of the Poison Cure Berry that I currently have on, we need something that can heal us in battle. Or alternatively, we could go for a Quick Claw here. Let's just test this and see how it goes. So here, I'm going to actually Defense Curl, then go for the belly drum. We get on very low health here, unfortunately, but we are going to be able to knock out a bunch of Pokemon. Unfortunately, Sneasel will end me there when I can't outspeed. That's why we really do want rest coming up pretty soon here. That being said, maybe we're better off just going Defense Curl Rollout. It ends up taking 2 hits to knock out that first Golbat, but then maybe we can get through Haunter with like a Quick Claw. Unfortunately, we don't get it this time, but we do knock out Sneasel. That brings out Meganium. It goes for the poison, and we actually managed to get through that time. So maybe we don't need the belly drum at all. Maybe it's all just about the Defense Curl Rollout there in order to actually get a victory. But with that done, now we should be able to completely stunt on the rest of these trainers down here. So let's just quickly get through them and move on in this one. Now I get the opportunity to learn rest, and I am actually going to take this opportunity to use it. I'm going to throw it on over Defense Curl right now, keeping Headbutt and Rollout and Belly Drum, with my idea being that I can now heal in battle. Defense Curl is also a TM, so we can always relearn it if we want to, and that gives us yet another strategy when we do want a belly drum, for example, against Clair. But with no issues, we managed to make it to the final Rocket Executive here. We have to take him down, of course, before we can go to Clair, but I think Rollout is enough for this fight. Let's just see how it goes. So executive attempt number 1, I'm just going to roll out on the Houndour. That's actually a one-hitter there. We missed the rollout on the Coughing, so I'll just switch into Headbutt, and this will be a simple 2-hit KO. That will bring out the final Houndoom. We may as well just Headbutt here as it bites me, and we get the one-hitter there with a crit. So not sure if we needed the crit to knock it out, but it does allow us to ultimately get through, and we're ready to move on in the game. Now we can go to Clair, where I think at worst our strategy is going to be to go for a belly drum, rest, and then just sweep sort of strat with the Headbutt. I think that will be enough to get us the victory, but let's get to the gym and see how it actually goes. And here, just before Clair, it is pretty clear that we're not one-hit KOing against the Dragonairs, so we are going to have to go for that belly drum strat. But I think, again, it's belly drum, rest, and then sweep. Let's just see how this actually works out. So Clair attempt number 1, I'm going straight for the belly drum first. Now we will rest after that, as we're just getting a slam here. We can't be affected by any status, which is perfectly fine. And here, when we do wake up, we can headbutt and just one-shot that Pokemon. Second Dragonair comes out, we'll headbutt this one down as well. Third Dragonair, I'm going to go for another rest here because Slam's not going to do that much. We're not super scared of Ice Beam or Dragon Breath either. And once we wake up, we will simply knock this Pokemon out and have no status, which I think is the key. And with that, we've made it to the Kingdra. It's going to hit Surf, which I think will do decent damage, but our Headbutt with the belly drum is just way too powerful. We one-shot there, so Clair never stood a chance. We're able to just heal, belly drum, and then just Headbutt every single one of our Pokemon super easily. So I think we're going to get through this next section pretty darn easily. When we get to the rival here, of course, Earthquake is a move on the moveset, but I'm just not sure we're actually going to need it. Belly drum, Headbutt strats are probably going to be good enough to get through through there, or belly drum rollout strats. One way or the other, we should get the job done. I have to think that with the right accuracy luck, at least, this is a good enough set to get Snorlax through the entire league. We might have to use things like bitter berries in order to avoid confusion, for example, when we are using the belly drum strats, though maybe quick claw is the way to go in most situations, just so that we can outspeed the opponents that are in front of us. But really, that's the main way I think you take down a belly drum user, is by using confusion against them and getting them to hit themselves when they are already completely boosted up on attack. We do have some opponents that will go for that strategy against us, of course. We've got Willy Boy, who loves to do the Confuse Ray with his Zatus. We've got Karen, who loves to go Confuse Ray with her Umbreon. So those are the main threats, I think. Bruno also likes to go for his fighting type moves, but I'm pretty sure that once we get set up, we can manage to just tank some hits and take him down. We'll just have to see how that goes. Maybe that's where the Defense Girl TM comes on as well, just to be able to be more survivable against those fighting type moves. And at that point, maybe we no longer need to have rollout on the moveset, or maybe we forget headbutt and just go with one damaging move of some sort. We'll just have to test everything and see as we go through this. But for now, I think we're going to get through the rival nice and easy and be able to make our way to the league, where we should have some pretty decent chances. Still, I will pick up Earthquake just to have it. I just don't think it's worth learning right now. I think we'll be able to get through the entire rivals team with our current setup. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, I'm going straight for Belly Drum on the first Sneasel. It's going Fury Cutter against me. That's perfectly fine. We will just headbutt this Pokemon down. That will bring out the Golbat next. It goes Wing Attack. I go Headbutt. Now we can get to Magneton. This is where I'm actually going to rest, because I'm not super scared of anything this Pokemon can do, like Sonic Boom. It only does 20 damage. We've got 200 HP, so I have to think that we'll be able to survive that. Same for this Swift that it's going for. I just don't see that doing enough damage. I will go rollout here because I want to build up for the Haunter that comes out next. Sure enough, it comes out, it goes Curse. We hit the rollout in one shot. The Kadabra comes out. We hit rollout and destroy that Pokemon as well. Meganium tries to go Poison Powder and gets wrecked. So just like that, we completely destroy the rival. And if we've got the rollout when we get through to Lancey Boy, I think we just destroy him with the same setup. We just go for the Belly Drum on the first Pokemon, heal up, and then just go in for the sweep. We'll have to see how it actually works out, but I'm very interested to see how this Snorlax does in the league. For now, it's made it to the doorsteps. We'll just simply save the game right here, and we've got one more normal type to look at. That is the normal Porygon. Let's see how it goes. So with that, we're ready now for Porygon, coming in with Psybeam, Recover, Swift, and Conversion 2. And very likely we will be adding on the move Tri-Attack when we get to it over the top of Swift. And that's probably our moveset going through this section. I think we're going to do pretty fine, but let's just see how it actually goes. And sure enough, with no issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man here. And I'm going to come into this one with Tri-Attack already added to the moveset. Plus we have Psybeam. I think we get through nice and easy, but let's see how it goes. So first up on the first coughing, I'm going Psybeam, and that does get the one-hit KO, so now I think we're getting through these just fine. We can easily destroy all of the coughings. Maybe the Wheezing will be a two-hitter, but even then I think we'll get through without too much issue. Sure enough, it is a two-hit KO. We can just try attack it down from there. That gets us to level 37 as the next coughing comes out, and here we're just going to continue to sweep with our strong Psychic-type move, so they never stood a chance. And now we're ready to get to the rival in the basement, where I think between Tri-Attack, Status, plus the Psybeam, we should be able to get through everything on the team pretty well. We're not super fast. That's our main issue as we go into this section, but I still think we have a chance. It might be worth going for the Quick Claw here to get a victory. I'm not sure. Still, I think that the Paralyzed Cure Berry might be the best way to go, since we could get paralyzed by the Magnemite. That might affect our ranges when we actually get to the Haunter. We'll just have to see. Let's test this and find out. So first up, we get the Golbat. I'm just going to go for the Psybeam right here. This is going to be a two-hit KO, which is perfectly fine. We get confused after that, though, which is not perfectly fine. Still, we make it to the Magnemite. I'm going to go Tri-Attack here. It hits the Thunder Wave, and I don't quite get the two-hitter, but it misses the second Thunder Wave. So we actually get through to Haunter. Here, we are significantly slower. So we're not going to get the one-hit KO there. We get to level 38 as we get to the Sneasel, and it's way faster than me. me, I'm going to try to use conversion 2 to become resistant to its attacks, and then see if I can just recover faster than I take burst damage. Eventually, we do get back to pretty good HP, so I'm going to go for the Tri Attack here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon, but we do ultimately take it down. Meganium comes out next. It goes Body Slam and simply ends me. We're going to have to try this one again. And it might just be that we have to get the luck to get some sort of status here. This time we actually managed to freeze the Magnemite, and then we can simply knock it out from there. So we're on full health going to Haunter at least. It will again curse on me, but I can simply knock that Pokemon out. We get to level 36 as we get to the Sneasel. Feint Attack doesn't do that much. We get the burn here. We're going to get the 2-hit KO on that Pokemon. That will bring out the Meganium last. It goes Body Slam. I go Tri Attack and once again get the burn. Unfortunately, it just Razor Leafs me down from there. So the Quick Claw might just be required here in order to get through this one. We may need that Quick Claw activation specifically on the Haunter. Like, even if we do get paralyzed, at least we could get that in order to get through this one. So I'm just going to have to test this a little bit more and see how we go. This time we do get the Quick Claw, so we knock out the Haunter nice and easy. So now I'm just going to start recovering against the Sneasel. I just need to be on high health. I am paralyzed. There's nothing that I can do about that, but we'll just get our health as high as we can before we move on to Meganium. Out it comes. I'm going to get hit by Razor Leaf, but easily survive. We get a nice critical hit Tri Attack, and then we get the Quick Claw, and we simply win. So as soon as we manage to get through Haunter without being paralyzed, we're actually good to go in that fight. And now we're ready to move on in this challenge. We are definitely much weaker feeling than we were with the previous Porygon 2, so I'm a little bit worried how we're going to do when we get to Clair, but maybe we'll be able to just get the right setups in order to get through, especially if we can get through all the Dragonairs on reasonably high health. So we'll just have to test that whole section and see. And here, sure enough, we make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni with no issues, so let's just see how he goes. Of course, he leads off with the Houndour. We'll go straight for the Tri Attack here, easily destroying that Pokemon. Coughing comes out, and we can wreck it with a Psybeam. That will bring out the final Houndoom. It outspeeds and goes Bite and flinches me. Then it misses Smog, and we simply get the 2-hit KO on that Pokemon. So at the end of the day, really not hard to get through that section. Now we've got to move on to Clair and just see how she goes. I think we try to get through this first without changing our moveset, just seeing if we can manage to get through with the Psybeam and Tri Attack. Hopefully the status is enough to get us the win here. And sure enough, here we make it to Clair with no issues. So let's just see if we can get through her. I'm going in first with a Quick Claw and with the Tri Attack, and I think we can probably out heal the damage from the opponents, but let's see how this goes. So Clair attempt number 1, we go straight for Tri Attack on the first Dragonair. It goes Thunder Wave. Now it goes Surf, but we don't take that much damage from that move, which is why I think this is okay. I could learn Zap Cannon here, but I'm going to skip the move. Let's just move on in this one. Second Dragonair comes out and goes Thunderbolt. I will go ahead and take this opportunity to heal very quickly and then go for the second Tri Attack to finish that one off. Third Dragonair comes out. It goes Ice Beam. I can go for the Tri Attack and get the freeze. So very nice. Now let's just finish that Pokemon off. That will bring us to the final Kingdra. It goes Smokescreen. I hit Tri Attack. I get a critical hit. She has to Hyper Potion there. I get another crit immediately after that. And now I just simply knock out the Kingdra. So Claire's definitely going to call hacks. I mean, getting 2 crits in a row on the Kingdra so that we can get the 2-hit KO there is a little bit cheap. I'm not going to lie. But at the end of the day, she once again cannot wall a Pokemon. And she's honestly running out of opportunities. Like, we've pretty much got legendaries in the next episode, so it's hard to see how she's gonna wall anything in that episode. So today is kind of her last chance. At least it feels that way. We'll have to see if it actually works out as I'm expecting, but I'm pretty sure that if she doesn't beat a Pokemon today, she will not beat a single Pokemon in this section. Who knows? Maybe she gets an advantage on something like, you know, a Dragonair or something next time. We'll just have to find out. But I'm just saying right now, I honestly do not think that she stands a chance of actually getting a victory. But with Clair done, we're ready to make our way up to rival number 5 so that Porygon can join its evolved form standing on the steps of the league. I think we're going to have a chance in here, but we are pretty slow. That is our main issue with this Pokemon. I probably should have kept agility from earlier on, but again, then do I have to forget conversion 2 or recover in order to get a second damage dealing move? I'm just not sure how it would actually have worked out. So here, we're just going to test this, see how it goes against the rival. Let's see if we can get the victory. So Rival 5 attempt number 1 right here. We're going to go straight for the tri-attack on the Sneasel. It just went Screech, so we managed to knock that one out. Out comes the Golbat. We get the Quick Claw, and we confuse it with a Psybeam. It simply hits me the next turn, though, and I'm confused, hitting myself in confusion. Well, it snaps out of confusion immediately, so we simply lose. Let's try this one again. So next attempt, we do manage to just two-shot that Pokemon. We make it to the Magneton here. I'm going to YOLO into tri-attack, hoping to get a status. It paralyzes me, but I'm taking very little damage here, and I think we may as well just recover against this, since it's not like this Pokemon has any strong moves to use against us. And then on low health, I'll simply knock that one out with a Psybeam. We get the Quick Claw activation on Houndour, which is actually huge, and now that brings out Kadabra. It goes Future Sight. I'm just going to transform into a Dark type here. We get disabled with Recover. Oh no. Still, we can eventually just knock that Pokemon out. That brings us to the Meganium, where again, I think we go Conversion 2. We become a Steel type, and now we just resist everything. Wait just a second. This might be all that we need. We hit the Psybeam and confuse Meganium. We get hit by Future Sight, but now we snap out of disability so we can recover, and this Pokemon's just slowly whittling itself down. And sure enough, we managed to beat the rival on the first attempt. Conversion 2 does come in clutch. Allows us to become a Steel type and then just not even worry about literally anything against that final Meganium. So hey, we'll take it. That's a free win. And when we go to Willy Boy next, we can try to use Conversion 2 to become a Dark type and thus be immune to the Psychic type moves. I don't think his team has strong enough moves outside of that in order to actually beat us. So we might actually have a chance if we just get that set up. We'll have to see. But for now, hey, Porygon, it gets through to the league, and that does it for our normal types in this episode. So let's just go back to our summary and see how we're doing so far. So with those first 4 Pokemon done, we are up to 109 Pokemon, legitimately getting through this section of the game, plus 31 member picks. So we've already got 140 Pokemon getting through Clair. That's more than half of the Pokedex. Plus, we've got those 5 Pokemon in the struggle column. I'm just saying that even discounting the member picks, we may end up with more than half of the Pokedex being able to beat the 8 gyms of Johto on minimum battles, which is absolutely insane to me. Still, we're going to have to see how it goes, and now we're going to have to get into our flying types. I'm going to actually compare up the Skarmory and the Aerodactyl here because they're both kind of similar in a lot of ways. Number one, they're both flying types with a really strong defensive secondary typing, but on the other hand, they both also don't get a whole lot of really good stab. So they might actually struggle here. They might not have the moves to match up well, but we'll see if maybe, just maybe, the offensive stats are enough to make up for it. I'm going to test out the Aerodactyl first. Let's see how that Pokemon goes. So here with our Aerodactyl, we are coming in with Wing Attack, Agility, Ancient Power, and Fire Blast. I forgot that we had already gotten Ancient Power. That could make this one really trivial. We won't learn any really good new moves in this section. Scary Face doesn't really matter. Takedown, I don't think is really going to be worth too much to us. I think we're probably going to basically stick with this set, especially since that Fire Blast is our best solution to things like a Magneton later on. So let's just see how this actually goes. I'm kind of surprised. I wasn't remembering that we had such strong moves on this Pokemon, and this actually makes me feel pretty confident that we might be able to get through nice and easy. Wing Attack is generally our best move in most situations, though we can go for the Omni Boosts with the Ancient Power if we really need to, and we can use the Fire Blast if something has particularly high defense and low special defense. So I'm just mostly going to spam away with these moves and see how we actually do. I think trainers like this Scientist with the Magnemites might actually be the hardest for us in this section though. And of course, with no issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man. So here against his first coughing, I'm just going to go Fire Blast just to see what it does. It doesn't quite get the one-hit KO. The whole logic for going for Fire Blast is that these Pokemon have lower special defense. We level up to level 34 right here, but I'm actually going for Ancient Power here, trying to get an Omni Boost if possible. We don't get it here, but that's fine. Even the Wheezing is just a 3-hit KO. And as long as we don't get poisoned, we should be fine to get through these remaining Pokemon. Even when we do get poisoned by Smog from the last one, it's a non-fatal factor, and we're ready to move on in this challenge. But with that, we're now ready to go take on the rival. I think we match up pretty well against most of his Pokemon. Of course, the Feraligatr is going to be able to go for the water type moves, and we won't have anything super effective there, but I think we can get through everything else. We might just have to get the luck to actually land Fire Blast on Magnemite, but let's see how it goes. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, technically I reset once just to recover PP. We can go Ancient Power on the Golbat. That is a one-hit KO as we get to level 35. Magnemite comes out. We hit the Fire Blast. So that is a one-hitter as well. Now for Alligator, I'm going for the Wing Attack here. It looks like a 3-hitter, so I'm going to give it an Ancient Power. It goes Rage. Good job, Rival. That allows us to get through that Pokemon just fine. Now on the Haunter, I will stick with Wing Attack and one-shot, and out comes the Sneasel. We can go for the Ancient Power and destroy that Pokemon. So just like that, we managed to get through without any major issues. We're ready to move on in this one. Now, one thing I will be very interested to test out is being able to learn Earthquake later on with this Pokemon, something that it didn't get in Gen 1, but did get starting in Gen 2. And that move could be all the difference for this one. When we get to some of the later electric types, we might just be able to use that in order to get a victory and just replace the Fire Blast. Since we don't have a great special attack stat, it honestly makes a lot of sense. Still, for now, I think we get through all these randos just with our wing attacks and ancient powers and whatnot. We shouldn't really have too much issue since we have the strong same type attack bonus and the pretty good attack stat. And sure enough, we make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. We're going to show him the power of a fossil, since clearly that's what he sent the super nerd into Mount Moon in the past for. That's why Jesse and James were hanging around there, you know, trying to get their fossils. But we got the best fossil, I think, by far with this Aerodactyl. So let's just stunt on this guy and show him why Aerodactyl is an absolute beast. He leads off with the Houndour, of course. We're going to go Ancient Power and destroy that Pokemon. Out next comes the Coughing. I'll go Wing Attack, and we get the one-hit KO. Now Houndoom is too slow, and we simply destroy it with the Ancient Power as well. So just like that, we managed to get through nice and easy, and we're ready to move on in the game. And the thing that I'm always impressed by with this Aerodactyl is the fact that it's just so incredibly fast. The speed is awesome to have here. It means that we should outspeed literally everything, giving us a really good chance of actually being able to get through as long as we get the right damage ranges. The real question is, how do we stand up against Claire when all of her team has at least one super effective move? I think we're going to have to go for the Paralyzed Cure Berry, and we're going to have to hope that maybe, just maybe, our Stab Wing Attack can actually manage to get one-hit KOs on these Dragonairs. We could always upgrade to Fly, which is slightly stronger, but takes 2 turns to use and does expose us to some damage while we're in the air. So I think we prefer to go for the Wing Attack if at all possible and just use that move to get through this gym, but we're just going to have to see how it actually works out, since literally everything will be trying to kill us. Now, at least on the Dragonair before Claire, we got a crit, so we don't actually know what the range is going to be on Claire herself. So I think what I'm going to do is give myself the Paralyzed Cure Berry, and then we're going to just hope that that is enough to actually get the victory on this one. Could even turn into a situation where if we're not quite getting the range, we reset to try to get a Omni boost on the first Pokemon as our strategy for getting through this. So I think there are some ways to get through, but we're just going to have to test it and see. So Claire attempt number 1, let's go for Wing Attack on the first Dragonair. It does not get the one-hit KO, so we're going to have to get the 2-hitter here. Fortunately, it missed the first Thunder Wave. Now what I'm going to do is switch into Ancient Power on the basis that maybe I could get an Omni boost that allows me to outspeed, especially if they don't manage to actually get me paralyzed. And of course, a critical hit should get the one-shot either way. Still, we managed to get through to the Kingdra this time with no paralysis. I'm going to Ancient Power again here. Surf is going to do massive damage. I think anything less than a crit, we simply lose. We go for it, but we do not get the critical hit, so we are going to have to reset on this one. That really makes the case that we probably need an Ancient Power Omni boost to get through this one. This time we get back to Kingdra once again with no paralysis, but again, it's just going to deal massive damage to me, and I didn't get a chance to deal enough damage back. A crit still will get us the victory here, but we're just going to have to reset for that level of luck, which is not going to happen very often. So this time we do in fact get the Omni Boost. So I'm just going to knock that Pokemon out. Let's see if the Omni Boost is enough to one-shot the next Dragonair. It is. Now we get back to Kingdra. I'm going Wing Attack, and I get a critical hit that one-shots. So the Omni Boost is the key there. I think even if she had managed to hit me with a Surf, I would have either knocked her out the next turn or she would have Hyper Potioned and I would have knocked her out after that. So that is the best strategy, at least that I can come up with, in order to get this Pokemon through. But ultimately, it didn't take that many attempts on Clair to get the Omni Boost that we needed and get the victory. So we will take it. The Ancient Power strats, while not super consistent, do always open up some possibilities like that, which is why we just have to take it. But we'll have to see when we get through to the league how this actually stands up for us. When we get to Will, 3 of his Pokemon are weak against the rock type, and then he's also got the Exeggutor that's weak to the flying type, so we should match up reasonably well against everything other than Slowbro there. And then maybe with the Omni Boost or something, we can simply manage to take the Slowbro down. In fact, I'm not sure if Slowbro knows any water type moves on that team. If we manage to get to Koga, I think we match up incredibly well. If we get to Bruno, it's going to be a little random, but we do have this stab flying type move, so we should be good. Karen is going to be Karen, but then we might just have chances when we actually get to Lance, because we could have Ancient Power be the solution to that fight. I'm honestly not sure. We'll have to obviously test it when we get there, but that's basically my thinking as we get ready to go to the league. And I think we just replace Fire Blast with Earthquake here, and that's how we're actually going to get through the rival that's upcoming with reasonable consistency. So we'll just have to see how it actually works out, but that's the game plan as we go forward. And we're just going to try to carry that Earthquake if we can, since I think it's going to be really helpful in a lot of parts of the league. Still, we've got to take on Rival 5 here, so let's just see how he goes against the Sneasel. We just go for the Ancient Power and destroy it. That gets us to level 42. Magneton comes out next. We go Earthquake and one-shot that Pokemon. That brings out the Feraligatr. Technically, Wing Attack is the strongest move here, given the same type attack bonus. We easily tank a Water Gun, and then it goes Rage. Good job. We easily destroy that Pokemon. We can go Earthquake on the Haunter since it's super effective. That brings out Kadabra. We can go back to our Wing Attack, and finally we get the Golbat, and we'll just Ancient Power and completely destroy it. So just like that, Aerodactyl gets to the league, no issues whatsoever, and we're ready to move on in this one, where, like I said, I think we match up pretty well against Willy Boy. We've got super effective moves with Stab against 4 of his Pokemon, so it's only that Slowbro that's probably going to curse at us a lot, but I think that's fine. If we just manage a crit, we will get a win. Then yet again, I think we match up perfectly fine against Koga and Bruno, especially because we've got the Earthquake for the poison types and we've got the Earthquake for the Onyx. That should be perfectly fine. Then it's all about Karen and Lance, and we'll just have to see how it goes. Who knows? Maybe we need the rare candies. I'm not sure, but we'll test everything and find out in this next section. For now, this one moves on. Let's check in on Skarmory. So Skarmory comes in with Return, Hidden Power, Agility, and Mud Slap. We clearly had to go for some Hidden Power strats earlier in order to get through some Pokemon, and I'm very interested to see how we're going to go going forward. Our next move is Fury Attack, which is worthless, and then we don't get to Steel Wing until level 49, which we are not getting to level 49 in this slow level up group. I think we have to throw on Fly at some point here, probably over that Hidden Power, and then we do not get something like Earthquake here, so we're not going to get that sort of advantage as we go through this one. So we're just going to have to see how this actually works out for this Pokemon. We might end up getting wrecked. Still, we're already rocking the Max Friendship Return, so I don't actually think that it makes that much sense to go for Fly right now. We might be better off just going for the Max Friendship Return since it doesn't take the extra turn to fly up in the air, and the powers are pretty darn similar outside of anything that is actually weak to the Fly, which there aren't that many Pokemon we're going to be up against that are actually weak against flying type moves here, so I don't think that will make that much of a difference. So instead, let's just test how we do with Return as we go through all these rando rockets, where I'm honestly not sure how it's going to go, but at least we're immune to poison, and that should help us an awful lot as we go through this one. And sure enough, we make it to the Marlboro Man. We resist everything on this team, so all you can really do is lower our accuracy. I think we're going to get through this just fine, but let's see how it goes. So first up on the first coughing, I'm just going to go for return. This is going to be a simple 2-hit KO. He goes for the smoke screen, of course, because he's scared of this Pokemon, but his tackles honestly do nothing. We took 1 damage from the tackle there. We level up right here to level 34. He's going for more accuracy strats. Fortunately, return has decent amounts of PP, so we should be able to get through this. We get to the wheezing. We get a nice crit there. Then it's just going tackle against me over and over again. And again, doing only 2 damage per hit. So just nothing to worry about. And here, the only real reason we would ever lose is because we run out of PP in the return like this. So I'm just going to go for my other damaging moves and just try to knock these coughings out. We'll use Hidden Power Dark just because they have lower special defense. And at the end of the day, it works. I don't even think we technically need the Hidden Power Dark. We could just have a move like Swift here and get through that one just fine, I think. At the end of the day, it's just a matter of landing hits on those Pokemon, and they're not ever going to be able to deal enough damage to a Skarmory to really be any sort of threat. Still, with that done, we now have to go fight against the rival, who I believe is running the Quilava team. So we will have the threat of getting hit by Ember, but we should resist basically everything else. So let's just see how this actually goes. I have the Hidden Power Dark for the Haunter when it comes out, though there is a decent chance that we might want to change to Fly right here for that Pokemon. We'll test that out and see, but let's just get into this and find out. So first things first, against rival number 2, I'm going to go agility once just to make sure I'm faster than everything. Now we can go return on the Golbat. It looks like a simple 2-hit KO to knock that Pokemon out. We get to level 35. Magnemite comes out next. We'll Mud Slap it. It misses the Thunder Shock and we knock it out the next turn. That brings out the Quilava now. I'm going return. It does over half. In fact, a critical hit, 1-shots. There we go. That brings out the Haunter. We'll go the Hidden Power Dark here. It does over half as well. And then Haunter just takes itself out with the curse. And now Sneasel, let's go for return, and we 1-shot, so we never even took burst damage. Perfectly fine to get through that, and now we can just crush everything down in the basement here as we make our way up to the final wannabe Giovanni at the end of this section. And here we do successfully make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. He is a little bit scary because he has fire type moves. I'm not sure if we're going to 1-shot with the max friendship returns here. Let's test this and find out, but especially the Houndoom could get some reasonable damage on us. We'll just have to see. So first up against the Houndour, I go for the return and I 1-shot that Pokemon. That's perfectly fine. Houndoom comes out next. Return does not get the 1-hitter, and Ember does a lot. Still, I think we can take this one down from here. Let's just go return to guarantee the KO, and that brings out the coughing, which can't do anything to this Pokemon, and we get a crit. So we easily win on that attempt. We're ready to move on now to Claire's gym, where we're just going to have to see how we go. We're in the slow level up group, so we're only going to be at like level 40 there when we actually get to Claire herself. Maybe 41. I forget if we used rare candies on this Pokemon earlier or not. Granted, early rare candies aren't going to have a massive effect on our final level. The only reason I think we might have used the rare candies is because of Jasmine. We might not have had the setups there that we needed to actually knock her out. I have to go back and look. I'm trying to make a record of where I actually used rare candies in the previous sections so that we don't accidentally mess up and use rare candies that we already used. We'll keep that in mind as just something to keep an eye on. Still, I think this Pokemon has reasonable chances here against Claire on the basis that only the Thunderbolt Dragonair has a super effective move against us. We should be able to put on something like the Paralyzed Cure Berry and basically outspeed everything. Like even the final Kingdra is slower than us currently. So if we can manage to get to that Pokemon without paralysis, we may just be able to deal enough damage to get the victory, but we'll have to test it and see, of course. We would really love if we could get some sort of trolley strategy like Toxic at this point, since that's one of the strats this Pokemon loves, is just spam Toxic and then like rest against everything. Unfortunately, it's not available yet at this point. We have to wait till the post game to get into those sorts of Skarmory strats. So we're just going to have to get through right now with the max friendship return, or maybe Fly if we just need a little small extra bit of oomph. But I think in that case, we just go Pink Bow. So let's just test this and see how it actually goes. But sure enough, I can say that we do not 1-shot against the Dragonairs. It's not even close. Like a Pink Bow's not going to make the difference in the range based on this trainer just before we get to Claire. So I think we've got to put on the Paralyzed Cure Berry, and we've just kind of got a YOLO in this one. We might need a Mud Slap first, try to lower their accuracy, and then knock them out after that. So let's just see how this actually works out. So Clair attempt number 1, I'm going to see what Mud Slap does. It does like laughably little, obviously. But then when we go for the max friendship return, we can see it's clearly a 2-hit KO here. I'm not on full PP even, so I'm going to go for some hidden power darks to finish that one off. Next Dragonair comes out. It misses the first Thunder Wave and the second Thunder Wave. So I'm going to just try to knock it out from there. Sure enough, I do take it down. Third Dragonair comes out. It goes for Thunder Wave and now Ice Beam on me. Fortunately, nothing has any super effective moves against me at this point, so I can raise my speed and now be faster than this Pokemon and ultimately knock it out. That brings us to the Kingdra. It hits me with Surf and I simply lose because I didn't have enough HP. Let's try this one again and let's make sure that we have all the returns here. So back to this fight again. I'm going to go return. We get Thunder Wave. We're really kind of hoping for a critical hit on these Dragonairs. The second Dragonair gets me paralyzed and hits me with a couple of Thunderbolts, so we go down. We're going to have to try this one again. This time that second Dragonair misses though, and that's all we need. We get the crit on the third Dragonair, so we've made it to Kingdra on full health this time. We go return. It does about a third. We get another nice return here. She goes for the Hyper Potion after that, and if we can survive one more Surf, we will win. And sure enough, we do. So when we manage to get to Kingdra on full health, it's possible to get through that one without too much difficulty. And now Skarmory is ready to move on in the game. It's not always the prettiest, but it does ultimately get the job done. This Pokemon just doesn't have a great super wide move pool like a lot of other Pokemon, so it does struggle as you go through these solo challenges with it. Still, we can go ahead and make our way to the final rival. We can put ourselves on the doorstep of the league. We should match up really well against Willy Boy since he doesn't really have a whole lot that's even neutrally effective against this Pokemon. So maybe we can get a super easy victory just based on that. We'll simply have to test it and see, but I get the feeling that this Pokemon can at least get through to Bruno, and then if we just learn something like Fly, we can probably get through him. We should at least have chances against Karen, and then it's when we get to Lance that I think this Pokemon completely dies. Like, consider that there are at least 3 Pokemon using super effective moves against us on that team, because I know that the Dragonites have access to Thunder, and then we've got to deal with the Flamethrower from that Charizard, and I'm just gonna say I'm not sure that we can actually knock that Pokemon out. We'll absolutely go for Agility there to be able to outspeed and hopefully be able to get like a critical hit or something that takes that one down, but I will not be surprised at all if we have to drop the rare candies right there just to have a chance, and even then it's not necessarily going to be a good chance to actually progress. So we're gonna really have to hope and pray that we can get the luck to get that one to go. I get the feeling that this Pokemon really wants something like Hidden Power Rock in order to take down flying and fire type Pokemon. I mean, it's not like it has a ton of weaknesses, and it does have the flying type against the fighting type, so that's perfectly fine. But yeah, something like Hidden Power Rock makes a lot of sense for a solo run for this one. Still, at the end of the day, we do manage to make it to Rival 5. I think we throw on a Paralyzed Cure Berry, and then we just see if we can manage to get the luck to get through here or not. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, I'm going to go straight for return on the Sneasel. It turns out to be a 2-hitter, but that's perfectly fine. We still take it down. Magneton's out next. I misclicked, so I get paralyzed. I'm going to have to go for the Mud Slap after that. It does look like a 3-hit KO with the Mud Slap. And here, when we're slower, I think we're just getting wrecked by the Typhlosion. It goes Flame Wheel. We've managed to survive, but we can't survive another, so we're going to have to try this one again. So back to the Magneton next time. We still get paralyzed the first turn, but it misses the second Thunder Wave, so we get through that one without paralysis this time. Now we can go return on the Typhlosion. It still does less than half here. Still, its Flame Wheel does less than half when we don't get paralyzed, but we get knocked out the next turn, so we're gonna have to try this one yet again, and we might need a crit on that Pokemon if we're being perfectly honest, or maybe going for a Mud Slap and hoping for some accuracy is the way to go there. So I'm gonna try it. Let's go for one Mud Slap here, just seeing if we can get a miss from this Pokemon. We don't get it that time, so we simply go down, but it looks like one Mud Slap and one crit is basically what we're going for here. This time we get one Flame Wheel miss. We get hit by the next Flame Wheel, but we do survive and we knock that Pokemon out. That brings out the Golbat. We're going for the return, but then Wing Attack simply ends me. I wasn't able to survive when I'm on such low HP. Next attempt, we get another Flame Wheel miss though, and we're on higher health going to the Golbat. Plus we crit that Pokemon. That brings out the Haunter. We'll go for the Hidden Power Dark. It goes Confuse Ray against me. That's perfectly fine. We still knock that Pokemon out, and that brings out the Kadabra. We can go return, and finally we managed to win. It wasn't the prettiest range there, but ultimately we did get the job done, and Skarmory is moving on to the Pokemon League. It took 12 resets total there, so just take that for what you will, but really not too bad at the end of the day to get that one done. And now, like I said, I think the first 3 members are pretty reasonable for us. The 4th one, Karen, might be trouble, and Lance might be the end of us. Sunny Day strats could come in, or even like a sandstorm to get a little bit of chip damage, but I think there's a high likelihood we even end up going for like a rest, sleep talk, and like a mint berry sort of strat, trying to like rest off damage, wake up one time, and then the rest of the time use the sleep talk to be able to go for like a mixture of fly and return in order to knock out opponents. I'm not sure how it will actually work out, but we'll just have to test everything there and see. For now, this Pokemon gets through. Let's look at our results so far. So with Skarmory and Aerodactyl getting through this section, we're up to 111 passers through Clair now, legitimately getting through with no issues. And now I'm going to jump down to my ground types. We're going to look at Piloswine and Donphan. Then we will look at the member pick Phanpy. Skarmory's kind of partner in crime and Mantine is just going to have to wait down there for a minute until we get to the water types in the next section after that. And then we will finish off with our fire types, I think. But let's get into this Piloswine first. This one should be one of the better Pokemon here, at least against Clair and against the Rockets, because we've got the ground typing as well as having access to stab ice moves. But who knows? She could end up completely wrecking us because she has the Kingdra with Surf and just gets super effective damage on us when we can't actually get anything super effective against her. Then Donphan, I think, is going to be entirely relying on rollout, but we'll just have to see how that goes. First up, that Piloswine. So here we come in with Piloswine, knowing Headbutt, Powder Snow, Takedown, and Mud Slap. In this section, we'll also get access to Fury Attack and maybe Mist, but that will probably come in after we get through Clair. We won't get to Blizzard at level 56, at least not without going for the Game Corner TM. Icy Wind is available to us as a potential move upgrade, and then Blizzard is available to us as well as the Game Corner TM if we need a stronger same type move. And then we will get Earthquake when we actually get to the rival, but we don't get access to Dig or anything intermediate, so we're gonna have to hope that this is enough to get us through. Our ground typing should help a lot against the rando Rockets, since most of them don't have good moves against this typing, but it still remains to be seen just how good or bad this Pokemon turns out to be, especially when we get to Clair. So we're just gonna have to test a lot of things here to find out. Still, without any real issues, we make it to the Barbaro Man, so let's just see how he actually goes. So first things first here, Mud Slap isn't super strong, but it is effectively 60 base power. So let's just see how much it does here. It does slightly less than half to this first Coughing, and then Headbutt is not enough to take it out. We would need to go Takedown to finish that Pokemon off. Still here, I'm just going to go for the Headbutts on the Wheezing. It turns out to be a 4-hit KO, and it goes Explosion in order to knock me out. So we're going to have to try this one again. Still, with what we can see here, it looks like probably going Headbutt is the best play, trying to flinch these Pokemon. We can also go Powder Snow, trying to knock them out quickly, since they do have lower special defense. So even when we get our accuracy dropped, we are getting the 2-hit KO with the Powder Snow. We actually managed to get through on the 3rd attempt there. Ultimately, it's not that big of a deal to get that one to go, but if he does go Boom on you, you take pretty significant damage, and that's a little bit scary if I'm being honest. Still, we're gonna go down now to the basement and try our hand against rival number 4, where at least against the first Golbat, we've got the super effective ice type move. Hopefully Mud Slap can do enough to the Haunter and to the Magnemite to get us through, though Magnemite's not really that big of a threat, but let's just see how this actually works. So Rival 4 attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to lead off with the Powder Snow. He goes for the Wing Attack. Our Powder Snow looks like a 2-hit KO here. We get confused and hit ourselves once. Then we snap out of confusion and we can take that Pokemon down, getting to level 35. Feraligatr is out next. And I think we have to headbutt this Pokemon and get some flinches, but it goes Rage. That was perfectly fine. Now Water Gun does decent damage, but we finally flinched that one, so it does go down after that. We'll stick with the headbutts here on the Sneasel. It gets a really big feint attack. I'm all the way down to 1 HP here as we get the Magnemite out. I go for the Mud Slap and get the one-hit KO there. Haunter comes out, it goes Shadow Ball, and I lose. We are too slow to outspeed that Pokemon, so we just couldn't get a chance. Maybe we would have gotten through if not for the confusion though. So let's try this again. Obviously, we could also freeze opponents in order to get through here, but it will take quite a bit of luck from the looks of things. This time we at least get to the Haunter with a little bit better HP. It still knocks me out, however, with Shadow Ball. So I'm not sure. Maybe we want to go a Quick Claw here just to at least have the chance to outspeed and maybe flinch opponents with Headbutt. That might be our best play. So this time we're back to Magnemite, but that Pokemon's no threat to us. It's only the final Haunter that we need to worry about. And once again, it can simply Shadow Ball me down. So at this point, I'm thinking that our best play is to go for Max Friendship Return because the takedown has recoil. And if we're already getting knocked out here, I don't think takedown's going to allow us to survive as we use that move. Whereas Max Friendship Return could actually give us a legit chance to deal more damage and get through on that basis, at least once we get opponents into the right ranges. So it could still be a headbutt into return strat here, but I'm going to test this and see. So here we've added return onto the moveset and maxed out our friendship. Let's see what that does for some of these ranges. So here we once again knock out the first Golbat, but what I really want to see is what does return do against this Feraligatr? With a crit, it takes it all the way down to low health. We hit ourselves once in confusion, but then we do knock that Pokemon out. We get the Sneasel out. We hit the return. It doesn't quite one-shot, and we end up getting down to very low health here. So we're probably yet again going to lose just on the basis that we couldn't get that one-hitter there on the Sneasel. Still, that was a lot of bad luck, us hitting ourselves in confusion there. So I think we've got to just get a run where we don't hit ourselves in confusion a single time. Golbat doesn't have to go for the Confuse Ray, and even then we can snap out of confusion without hitting ourselves. That's probably what we need. So here we do manage to take that Pokemon down. We're back to the Sneasel. We get a couple nice Quick Claws there. We knock out the Magnemite. The problem is that we're back to this Haunter without any HP because we got a Scary Face that made us slower than even Magnemite there. So we're going to have to try this one yet again. And the fact that we're not even getting a good enough range against that first Golbat makes me think that maybe Blizzard is the play here. Maybe we can just one-shot that Pokemon now. Sure enough, Blizzard gets us that one-hit KO. We're to the Feraligatr. We're going to headbutt first, hoping to flinch it. We get one Water Gun, but we are ultimately able to knock that Pokemon out. Oh no, we missed the range. Are you kidding me? I'm going to reset right there to try this again. We need to get the range with return to knock that Pokemon out. And if we don't get flinches there, I think again, we just reset on this one. So this time we get through the Feraligatr at least above half health. We get a nice headbutt on the Sneasel and we get to knock it out the next turn. That brings out the Magnemite, which is a non-factor. We can just one-shot that Pokemon. And now Haunter, I think we go Blizzard here. We survive the Shadow Ball and we finally knock that Pokemon out. But we had to massively upgrade our moveset just to get through that rival fight, partially because we're in the slow level up group, partially because we don't have great speed, and that kind of wrecks us here. Still, I think we can get through the rest of these randos in this section, so I'm just going to get through them as quickly as possible. We're going to have to gain some levels before we get to Clair, but in all likelihood, we're going to be slower than that Kingdra when we get there, and that could be really bad for us, because I'm pretty sure that just a single Surf probably ends us with this Pokemon. We don't have great special defense here, so we don't really have much to fall back on in that situation. Still, we'll just have to test it and see. Before that, we have to take on Mr. Wannabe Giovanni, who also has super effective moves against us, so I'm not sure how this is going to go. Now, fortunately, Max Power Return plus Blizzard is enough to get us to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni, but this could be actually tough. He has two Fire-type Pokemon, and I'm not sure how we even stand up to like an Ember here. We're going to have to test this and see, and I think Houndoom might be faster than us, so we could be in trouble. So first up, we've got the Houndour. Fortunately, this Pokemon is slower, so we can just go return and knock that Pokemon out. Houndoom comes out next, and it is faster than me. It hits an Ember. It does pretty decent damage. The Max Friendship Return is doing more, though, so we are getting through that Pokemon to the final Coughing. I'm going Blizzard because of its low special defense, and that is enough to get through that Executive. I guess I was pumping him up a little bit too much here, just like Game Freak, you know, adding in this whole section and making him the final boss. You know, he's not even a Jesse Jesse and James from Gen 1 in terms of difficulty. So I get the feeling that, you know, they probably could have cut this entire section out and made a significantly more interesting game than all of those free wins. It's really only the rival fight that's actually worth anything there, because sometimes the rival actually walls a Pokemon like we just saw here. Most of the time, though, that whole section is just a bunch of free levels and free wins, especially when you see people doing standard solo runs where they've already kind of leveled up a bunch in order to make some of the gyms easy. That whole section becomes kind of a formality of just like spam return the whole way. Still, this is a Pokemon that clearly needed this. So I don't know, we might have to throw it into that OPTMs category just on the basis that it is using multiple of these moves. We could make the argument that we need to put the Skarmory into that category as well. In fact, I think I should get that updated once I finish this one, because technically it was using Hidden Power Dark to get through some parts of the game. You could argue that Fly could have done the same job, but the fact was Hidden Power Dark was already on the moveset. And once you have it on the moveset, like, you're not going to forget it before Willy Boy. That wouldn't make any sense. So I think we'll probably have to move that Pokemon as well. Anyhow, we have made it to Claire's gym. I'm going to see if I can just clear up the randos nice and easy, but we're a little scared of water type moves here, and we're going to be faster than the Dragonairs, but not faster than the Kingdra, so we might need some serious luck. Fortunately, the Dragonairs should be one-hit KOs as long as we connect with the Blizzards, so it should just be a matter of getting a run where we one-hit KO all of them. So I think we stick with the Quick Claw here so that we can fish for that luck to outspeed the Kingdra and take it down. Let's see how this actually works out. So Claire attempt number 1, we're going straight for Blizzard on the first Dragonair. That is a one-hit KO. Kingdra comes out second. It misses a smoke screen. I hit Blizzard doing about half. Now it goes Surf. I take massive damage, but I do knock it out with the Blizzard. We get to level 41. This next Dragonair doesn't have any good moves against me, so I can probably go for anything, but I'm still going to try to Blizzard and just one-shot. We do get the KO. We've made it to the final Dragonair. Blizzard connects. We beat Claire on the first attempt. Oh, Claire. If she just goes Surf twice, we lose. She had to go for the smoke screen. Are you kidding me? That is just perfect representation of Claire right here. She's basically on Lieutenant Surge tier from Gen 1. Like, she always has a move that she'll use that just gives her a chance to punt on what should be a guaranteed win. She's challenging Pryce and Chuck for like punting abilities here in this generation. It's absolutely insane to me that they made this the 8th gym leader. Like, who at Game Freak was like, yeah, this feels like an appropriate level of challenge for the 8th gym leader. Yeah, we'll just make it so that she has, you know, one move on every single Pokemon that can essentially just be like a, you know, sure, player, have the win sort of situation. When you compare her up to Jasmine, when you compare her up to Whitney, when you compare her to Bugsy, she is just an embarrassment. I'm just saying, I'm coming to tell these old guys that we're complaining, we're telling Claire off, and she's gonna go tell Lancey Boy that this one is coming for him, and he's gonna be like, hey, Claire, unlike you, I have a Charizard, so I'm gonna be perfectly fine. I can estimate that even if we get to Lance, it's going to be very hard to actually get the victory there because of our lack of speed, plus the fact that we have the weakness to fire. We're neutrally affected by ice and rock type moves, as well as dragon type moves, of course, and then we're weak to the water type moves at the start of the fight. We would have to freeze, I think, on the very first Gyarados to even have a chance of getting through, and even then Charizard, I think, comes out and ends us because we've probably taken some damage by that point. I just see no way that we actually get it to go, but who knows, maybe we just get the god tier Quick Claw luck, and then we're just able to be like YOLOing into the Blizzards for the win. We'll just have to test it and see, but I am not super confident. I will say that right now. Still, I think one move is going to help us get at least to that point in the game, and it's coming up right here. We are about to pick up one of our best same type moves in Earthquake. Earthquake, of course, is 100 base power, but effectively 150 base power in the hands of a Pokemon like this. But the whole problem with it is that it cannot hit flying types, and that means that even though we've got our best attacking move in the entire game, effectively, we won't won't be able to use it when we get to Lancey Boy. So I think I just learned this one over Mud Slap. I mean, we could YOLO for the Mud Slap accuracy strats. Maybe I learned this over Headbutt just because Headbutt's replaceable. I'm going to go with it over Headbutt. We're going to at least give ourselves the chance to Quick Claw and go for the Mud Slap on a really tough opponent. But even then, there are so many flying types in the league. I'm not sure this is going to work out. We're just going to have to test it and see. But first things first, we have to beat this rival. So Rival 5, attempt number 1 right here. I'm going straight for Earthquake on the Sneasel. That is a one-hit KO. We can level up to try to learn Mist. I'm going to skip that move. Let's get this Feraligatr out, where yet again, I think we go for the Earthquake. It's going to be a 2-hit KO here, but that's perfectly fine. We can get a victory there. Out comes Kadabra. We will stick with Earthquake as it goes Future Sight. Golbat comes out. I missed the Blizzard. It confuses me, and now I get hit by Future Sight, and I can't hit a Blizzard, so I lose. Let's try this again. Next attempt, of course, we get back through the Kadabra, but this time Magneton comes out. That's perfectly fine. We'll just one-shot that Pokemon. Out comes the Golbat now. It goes Wing Attack. We miss Blizzard. We get hit by Future Sight, and we get Wing Attacked down. So we're going to have to try this yet again. This time we get the Haunter out next, and it curses me. But if I can manage to land all the hits, I will be able to win. We still have half HP as we get to Golbat. It goes Wing Attack. I hit the Blizzard, and we finally beat the rival on the 3rd attempt. Still, that was not as pretty as one would hope coming into the league, so I'm not sure how we actually work out here. We have a few advantages when we go up against the next fight against Will. The 2 Zatus and the Exeggutor are all weak against the Ice type, and we have Blizzard. The Jinx is only going to have neutral damage against us, and we can probably Earthquake that Pokemon down. So Slowbro is likely the real wall there. If we can get through Will, I think we can get through Koga. Bruno might be a little bit random because we are weak against fighting. If we manage somehow to get through that, we can probably sneak through Karen somehow with the right Quick Claw luck. We're going to have to get the Quick Claw on the Houndoom, but then Lance, I think, might be impossible. That's my prediction right now as we stand on the steps of the league, but definitely tell me what you think of Piloswine going forward. Am I missing something? I'm just telling you right now, I think I would be giving this Pokemon like Hidden Power Electric or like Hidden Power Rock in order to try to get through some members of Lancey Boy's team at the end of the game. And I do not have any confidence there. I think if anything, we're going to have to drop all the rare candies. That probably punts on the late game. So, you know, just take that for what you will. But we have made it. Now let's check in on Donphan and see how that Pokemon goes. So Donphan comes in as the pure ground type here, but once again, it's one of these ground types that doesn't learn Dig, which is really kind of embarrassing. So instead, we're running Rollout, Flail, Defense Curl, and Mud Slap here at this point in the game. Via level up, we will be getting Rapid Spin, which I think we will be skipping, and then Earthquake comes in at level 49. I don't think we'll be getting there, but maybe at the very end, but it would be like the same time as the TM. So I'm not sure how this is actually going to work out. We do have Defense Curl Rollout though as basically our best strategy for everything, so let's just see if that gets us through this section, and maybe we can go Flail strats. Maybe we will have to replace that move. I'm honestly not sure, but we've just got to test everything and try. Now, of course, we all know from Pokemon movie canon that this Pokemon, in spite of being a ground type, can be one-shot by Ash's Pikachu with a Thunderbolt. So I'm not convinced that this one's going to be very good. It's just another ground type that's fairly slow and doesn't have very good special defense. So I'm getting the feeling that we're probably going to get wrecked once again by Claire if we don't get crazy luck, but maybe she'll punt. We may have to go for something like Max Friendship Return at that point though, in order to have any chance against the Dragonairs. We'll just have to see. Maybe we can cheese with some Mud Slap spam in order to get through, but I'm not super confident in this Pokemon if I'm being perfectly honest. Still, we almost gave up on this Pokemon once back in the Bugsy section, where if you'll recall, I told you guys that I had started this Pokemon, I had failed so many times with it against the rival that I was simply ready to give up on it, but I then realized I hadn't captured any footage. So I went back to re-record the section just to show that it was impossible to get through, like I was planning to do like 3 or 4 attempts, you know, and then just say, see, it doesn't work and move on. And instead what ended up happening was this Pokemon actually got got through on that attempt, leaving me in this incredibly awkward situation where I had sat down to tell you guys that this Pokemon was done, only for it to actually get through with insane luck at that time. So I'm telling you right now, the Donphan of all Pokemon that are here right now is like the ultimate pretender Pokemon, which is why I have very little confidence in it. But let's see how it does against the Marlboro Man. So here against the Marlboro Man, I'm going to Mud Slap him first, trying to dodge the smoke screen. And now we're going to Defense Curl and go into the rollout. We knock out the first coughing. The second coughing gets wrecked. Or no, it doesn't. It survives with a sliver. Are you kidding me? The wheezing does get one shot though. So we get through that Pokemon. We still hit on the next coughing. So that's perfectly fine. Now we're going to have to get through these remaining coughings. And I think our best play is the Mud Slaps here. It's same type. It's super effective. It's 2-hit KOing. So that's good enough to get us through, at least against the Marlboro Man. But now we're going to have to try to get our Pokemon through the rival. And unfortunately, we're up against Meganium, which is going to be using Razor Leaf. Way stronger than the water gun that we were seeing in that previous run. The only reason why we didn't put the Piloswine up against the Chikorita line is because it has Stab with Blizzard. So it would be able to one-shot there. This Pokemon doesn't have that. So it's going to be kind of stuck. The opponent is going to resist our moves, so we've got to hope that Defense Curl rollout is enough to get the victory here, and I'm not confident. I'm just saying that right now. Let's see how it goes. So first things first against the rival, I'm going Defense Curl against the first Golbat. It confuses me. I'm going to sit here and use Defense Curl until I snap out of confusion. Now we can go roll out. It's going to be a 2-hitter here. We get confused again. We might need a Bitter Berry in order to get this one to go. I'm just going to reset right there when we're hitting ourselves every turn. Let's give that Bitter Berry and now try this properly. So once again, Defense Curl, now roll out. It goes Confuse Ray. That's fine. We've managed to snap out of confusion. Out comes Meganium. We hit it and we do one shot. We're just faster than that Pokemon, which is amazing. We get to level 38 right here. Sneasel comes out and gets destroyed. That brings out the Magnemite, which also gets destroyed. And now we've made it to the final Haunter. I'm just going to go for the Mud Slap here and we get the 2-hitter. So we actually managed to win with Donphan on the first attempt. Donphan confirmed better than Piloswine. So with that, we can simply move on in this challenge. And I think we're going to be able to knock out a lot of these opponents. We might want to get to low health so that we can use Flail and deal more damage, but against a lot of these teams, rollout is a pretty good strat, so we'll just have to see how it goes. Unfortunately, after that, we managed to get to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni with no issues, and unlike the previous Piloswine, we have no weakness here. I think we just go Defense Curl, rollout, and win. Let's see how it goes. So first up against the Houndour, I'm just going to give a Defense Curl right here. It goes Feint Attack, but now we can roll out and destroy that Pokemon. Out comes the Coughing. We just destroy it as well. And now Houndoom goes Feint Attack, but we hit the rollout, and that is an easy win. So Mr. Wannabe Giovanni just cannot stand up to these ground types, even when they're using rock type moves. Apparently it's too much for him, and we will simply take that and move on in the game. But now Claire is arguably the single scariest trainer for us in this section, because we are going to have to find a way to set up here, in spite of the fact that the first Dragonair is just going to go Surf. Like, it's not going to go for Thunder Wave. We're immune to the move, and she's smart enough to realize that. So instead, she's going to just go for damage dealing moves, and that's going to be her strategy, likely, is to go for the Surf and just start destroying us. So if we try to go Defense Curl rollout, we probably get wrecked. I think we probably have to go for accuracy strats there, so that we can then hopefully set up when she doesn't hit us, and then we can go for the Defense Curl rollout. But I'm just saying right now, that's not going to be very pretty, especially because we're slower than the Kingdra, so we're going to have to survive a turn or get a Quick Claw activation there. The Paralyzed Cure Berry clearly won't do anything for us in this one, given that we are never going to get paralysis outside of maybe Dragon Breath, but I mean, we want them to use Dragon Breath, so I don't think that's a big deal. But yeah, we're going to have to see how this goes. Unlike the Piloswine, 3 of these Pokemon have super effective moves against us, because there is the Ice Beam Dragonair as well. So this is going to be tough. Let's see if we can get it or not. So here, as we get ready to go into the Claire fight, I think what I'm going to do is give myself a Quick Claw, and then I think we're just going to kind of pray here that we can manage some sort of setup. We might need to go for a Mud Slap into the Defense Curl, into rollout, in order to get the victory here. Let's test this and see. So first things first, against Claire's first Dragonair, I'm going Mud Slap. It does decent damage. We get a Surf Miss. Now we go Defense Girl. It does less than half to me. I went Flail by mistake, but now let's go for the rollout. We knock that Pokemon out. Out comes the second Dragonair. We one-shot. That brings out Kingdra. We do not get the Quick Claw and we lose, but that makes me think we might have a chance here. So let's try this one again. Still going for one Mud Slap first, then Defense Girl, but this time we're gonna go for the rollout here. We miss, she misses, we miss, she misses. We finally hit, but we're going to be on fairly low health again as we get through that one. The next Dragonair we missed, so I think we just reset right there. Next attempt, we do knock out the Dragonair though. We need the Quick Claw right here, and we do not get it, so we lose. Still, we can see the strategy that is eventually going to work. Set up Defense Girl, go for the rollout, and pray to get the misses when you need them. We get 2 misses this time from the first Dragonair. That brings out the second one, which yet again goes down. Kingdra's out. It goes Surf, and we cannot survive even from that level of health. So once again, no Quick Claw equals we lose. We can actually survive 3 Surfs there. So if we manage to just get the Quick Claw here, we could just get the victory. And it suggests to me that there's not even a reason why we need to go for Mud Slap here. We might just be able to go straight for Defense Girl and then go into the rollout here. It's always going to take a couple hits there on the Dragonair to take it down. The next Dragonair goes down as well, and then we're just hoping for that chance to get the Quick Claw on the Kingdra. Still, that simplifies the strategy a bit, and the simplest strategy is the one that I always like to go for. So let's just use that so that we take 1 fewer turn as we sit here and reset, and it's just going to be a question of how many attempts it takes to actually get the 1 Quick Claw activation that we need, since against all of the Dragonairs we already outspeed, and once we get this set up we will simply one-shot them. Here we finally get the rollout on the Kingdra on the 18th attempt, so we do get through that Pokemon. Out comes the last Dragonair. We hit rollout and we finally win. So Claire is definitely beatable there. It's just not pretty. It's not easy to get through that fight because we end up in the situation where we have to have a Quick Claw activation, and that is the only way that we get through, and it has to come exactly on that turn against the Kingdra. So that's rough. Still, we ultimately get the job done, so I can't complain too much. And now we can move on in the game where we've got to take on the rival, but we're going to get access to Earthquake here. And I think that's going to make this one a lot easier than it otherwise would be. But let's just see how this actually goes. So here we have the Earthquake TM, but I'm actually going to hold off on learning it immediately. I'm going to test with my moveset as it is first. The logic here is pretty simple. If we don't need to learn Earthquake, we can learn it later when we get it via level up. And then if we ever need to forget it, say against Lance, because none of his Pokemon can be affected by Earthquake, maybe we need another move. Well, in that case, we could forget Earthquake, but relearn it later via TM, which I think could be the best play. We're 4 levels away currently from getting that Earthquake. We could probably learn it during or after the fight against Will. So let's just see how this goes. Maybe this is the best strategy for this Pokemon. So here against the rival, instead, I'm going to set up the Defense Girl, and now I'm going to go for the rollout against the Sneasel. It's not going to like that one bit, but we easily take it down. Meganium comes out next. This is a 2-hitter. We get a Razor Leaf, but we survive. We're still above half health as we get to the Golbat, and we one-shot. Out comes Kadabra. It goes Future Sight, but we completely destroy it after that. The Haunter is out now. We hit the rollout. It nearly one-shots that Pokemon. That brings out the Magneton. We're cursed, but I don't think this matters. I don't know that the Magneton can do anything. That said, the Future Sight plus the curse nearly took us out, but we did manage to get through with Donphan on the first attempt. Now this Pokemon is ready to go to the Pokemon League, where we're just gonna have to see how this goes. Hopefully the rollout strats can carry us. We might need a Bitterberry in the next fight, but we might also need the Quick Claw because there is a Jinx that's pretty fast. So who knows? It might just be Defense Girl rollout and pray not to hit ourselves in confusion. We'll just have to test that and see in the next one. But I think this is another Pokemon that might be able to get all the way to Lance. But if we get to Lance, we might just be dead because I just don't see anything on the moveset that makes me think like, oh yeah, that move's going to get us through Lance. So we'll just have to see how it works out. But I'm just telling you right now, this Pokemon's probably limited in how far it's going to go. But we'll just test it out and see. For now, Donphan gets through. Let's check in on our member pick, Kismet the Phanpy. So with that, it is Phanpy time. Here we are with Kismet the Phanpy being supported by BChill817. And we're coming in with Mud Slap, Body Slam, Defense Curl, and Rollout. I think we're going to be going for a lot of Quick Claws in this one. But let's just see how this one actually works out. Fortunately, we should have a pretty good matchup against most of these randos inside of the radio tower. So let's just get the easy levels while we can. This is a Pokemon that might end up having to drop some rare candies though when we get to Clair. That might just be the spot where this becomes impossible. We're just gonna have to find out if it works or not. And sure enough, we managed to get to the Marlboro Man with no major issues. So let's just see how he goes with this Pokemon. Fortunately, his team isn't very fast, so I think we'll be okay, but let's find out. So first up on the first coughing, I'm going to Mud Slap here for an accuracy drop on it. I'm going to set up some defense curls as well, as it's going for a bunch of accuracy strats on me. And then maybe Body Slam is our best play here just to get the 2-hit KO. We've taken so many accuracy drops just from that first Pokemon. Still, we managed to get through the first couple of coughings here. It looks like it's a 2 to 3 hit KO on each of them though. We've run out of Body Slams, so now we have to switch into something else. I'm going Mud Slap just because it's super effective. Maybe we can get a miss. Then we'll go for the rollouts, but we've got to get some crazy rollout luck. We do knock out another coughing, only to miss on the last one here. So I'm just going to spam away. It takes 3 hits, but we ultimately get through that. The Marlboro Man cannot stand up to even a Phanpy here. I will take it. But with that done, we now have to get into the basement and the rival. And this is where we're going to need that Quick Claw like crazy. Against the Meganium, I think we've got to build up and then simply knock that Pokemon out. We're hoping not to get confused and hit ourselves a bunch of times from the first Golbat, but let's see how this actually goes. So Rival for attempt number 1, we go straight for Defense Curl first. Now we're going Rollout. We hit 1 Rollout there, and it's just a 2-hitter to take out the Golbat. That's fine. We get the Quick Claw on Meganium. It's not a 1-hitter. We get the Razor Leaf, but we survive. We get to level 38 here. We destroy the Sneasel. Out comes the Haunter. We're going to need some luck here on this Pokemon, I think. It goes Curse, and Mud Slap is not enough to get the victory. We're going to have to try this one again. So this time I'm going to try just giving a single Body Slam to the Golbat, as it has confused me. I'm gonna just try to knock it out from there. And unfortunately, we were on such low health because we hit ourselves a bunch of times in confusion that we simply lose. And basically, any time that this Golbat stops us from using the rollout, we're just gonna have to reset right there. So here we once again get to the Haunter on attempt number 17. It goes Curse. I go Rollout. I do knock that Pokemon out. That brings out Magnemite. We do about half, and we simply get knocked out right there by the Curse. So that's another situation where this just doesn't work out. What we might need is Earthquake, because if we had Earthquake on the moveset, we would be able to destroy both of those Pokemon, and it just makes too much sense on this Pokemon to have Earthquake here. So I think that's the strategy I'm going to ultimately go for. I will throw it on because this is a member pick, and I honestly just want to see if we can actually manage to get through. So we're going to have to repeat all of the luck to get to those last couple of Pokemon, but if we get it, we should be able to get the victory at that point thanks to the Earthquake strats. So that's what we're going for here. So here we have made it back to Haunter. It goes Shadow Ball. I hit Earthquake and knock that Pokemon out, and now the Magnemite is 4 times weak and we get the victory. But that's the only way I can find to get through this, would be to have Earthquake on the moveset, because otherwise we just don't have a strong enough move to guarantee that we one-shot both of those last 2 Pokemon. So at the end of the day, we simply would lose. Here, however, I think we now have a moveset that can get us through all of these randos and probably get us through Wannabe Giovanni at the end, but I'm really worried about how we're going to do against Clair. I'm not sure that even with our strongest move, we're going to be able to get the win there. So let's test this and see, but I'm just telling you right now, BChill, I am not feeling too confident in this one. And sure enough, Phanpy makes it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni here at the end of this section. So let's just see how we go, but I think Earthquake destroys everything. Let's just find out. So first up on the Houndour, we outspeed, we go for the Earthquake, and we one-shot. That brings out the Coughing, which is also slower, and we can destroy that in a single hit. Now we're slower than Houndoom, but we get the Quick Claw, so we just one-shot there as well. So yeah, he never even got the chance to damage us, and we're ready to move on in this challenge. Now we've got to see how we can do against Clair, which I'm honestly not sure how we're going to do because we don't have the stats of our evolved form. So I don't think we can go for Defense Curl rollout on the very first Dragonair. I'm pretty sure we just get wrecked. So we're going to need to deal more damage on this one, possibly going for paralysis strats. I'm just not sure how this is actually going to work out. So I'm just saying right now, we might have to give up on this one. Still, we are running our strongest move in Earthquake. So maybe it gets us through the Dragonairs and then we just have to YOLO into like a critical hit on the Kingdra in order to get a victory. I'm honestly not sure how it's going to work out though. I can say for certain that if this were still a legit challenger, it would be eliminated right here. In fact, we would have just given up right there on the rival. We wouldn't have even made it to Clair to have a chance. So who knows? Maybe this Pokemon proves me wrong when we get to Clair. Maybe Clair finds a way to punt. We'll just have to see. But here against the Dragonair just before Clair, Earthquake is not enough to one-shot. And I think that tells us all we need to know here. We're going to have to YOLO into a really luck-based strat in order to get this to work. Let's test this and see if it works out or not. So Clair attempt number 1. I'm going for the Body Slam first, hoping to get paralysis. We get it. We get Surf, but maybe, just maybe, we can get the range that we need for her to actually miss a turn here and allow us to set up. We don't get it that time, so we just get 3-shot. We're going to have to try this again. And I think every time we're just resetting to try to get the paralysis here on one of these Dragonairs and hoping that that gives us the chance to get through. We actually managed to get through to Kingdra, and we could try to paralyze that Pokemon with a Quick Claw, but that's really it. That's all we've got going for us here. Still, when it's fully paralyzed, we'll try to set up with the rollout. We get it on the first Dragonair. Second Dragonair comes out. We do one-shot. I think we just need the Quick Claw on the Kingdra, and we've got this. Here we get it, and we one-shot. So that brings us to the final Dragonair, and we just win. Oh, Clair. Oh, in just 3 attempts, we beat her with the Phanpy. Oh, that was epic. But it comes down to Body Slam paralysis plus getting the opponent to be fully paralyzed for at least 1 turn while you set up the Defense Curl rollout plus a Quick Claw. That is a lot of luck that you need to get that one to go. The fact that I got it in 3 attempts is just insane, but I will take it. I will take it all day because we can see Earthquake was not one-shotting there. That was our only really viable strategy, and fortunately, it works out in the end. The only other thing that I could think to do would be to YOLO into something like Sunny Day after that. So going for like a Body Slam paralysis, Sunny Day, Defense Curl rollout, we would have to forget Earthquake. That would be terrible, but that's the only other strategy that I could think of that would actually get us through. So I'm glad that this one worked out. We didn't have to go changing up our moveset a bunch more. We already had to kind of YOLO to give ourselves access to Earthquake here. Like, you'd have to trade this Pokemon to another cartridge, teach it the Earthquake TM. Like, who's gonna teach a Phanpy an Earthquake TM? Come on. I guess somebody who really loves Phanpy like BChill817, but you know, most people, they're going to be throwing that on something a little bit stronger than a little Phanpy, but it ultimately gets the job done. We're ready to go stand on the doorstep of the league with this one, as long as we can get through the rival. I think we've got enough moves. He's going to lead off with the Sneasel. That's going to let us set up the Defense Curl rollout. We're just going to need the right Quick Claws at the right times to get the job done. So let's just see if we can get it or not. The one thing that I can say is that the Rival 5 fight is kind of nice in that it gives us that fairly easy first Pokemon to get the setup that we need to try to get through. So I think we can basically YOLO into it, but let's just find out if it actually works or if we end up getting completely wrecked by the fact that we're slow and we don't have great stats. I will pick up the Earthquake TM so that we can even relearn this move if we ever want to, which also will be pretty YOLO, but we'll just have to see. For now, BChill817, this is how I can find to get Phanpy at least a year. Let's see how we do against the rival. So first things first, he leads off with the Sneasel. I'm going straight for Defense Girl here. He goes for Screech, but I'm just going to roll out after that. This is going to be a 2-hitter, which is kind of nice. That means that we're on the 3rd turn when the Meganium comes out. We hit the rollout. We don't quite get the 1-hitter here, but we survive against the Razor Leaf, so we knock it out. Out comes Golbat. It goes Wing Attack. We go for the rollout and knock that Pokemon out. Now we've got the Kadabra. It goes Future Sight. We go Earthquake. Magneton comes out. We outspeed and one-shot with the Earthquake. And that brings us to the final Houndour. It goes Curse, but we have the Earthquake, and that ends it. So we beat the rival on the first attempt this time, and now we're to the Pokemon League, where we have to try to get through with this little Phanpy. I'm going to have to see how it goes, but Defense Girl rollout gives us a chance. The Quick Claw is probably going to be required for a lot of these battles. We may end up slamming all the rare candies here. I'm just not sure, but we're going to test it and see. For now, let me give a massive thank you to BChill817, 19 months supporting Kismet here. And hey, you've gotten way farther than a normal Phanpy would. And I think that we'll be able to get through the next fight against Willy Boy with enough resets. I think that we'll be able to find a way through Koga. I think we'll be able to find a way through Bruno, maybe even through Karen. Lance, yet again, I think is going to be the hard wall for this Pokemon, but who knows? Maybe at that point we YOLO into something else and it works. So we'll just test it and find out. But for now, you've made it this far. Thank you so much for supporting. Let's keep this running up. So coming back to our results so far, we now have 112 legit passers. I just moved that Skarmory down into the pass with struggle column. Since it was using the Hidden Power Dark, I think it's just legit to put it there, just like the other Pokemon in that category. But still, we're managing to get through with an awful lot of Pokemon, including that member pick Phanpy now. So we're just continuing to crush at least that part of the game. Now we're going to look at our water types. We've got the Octillery and the Mantine legitimately in it, and then we're going to have to look at that Remoraid, the LilGunFish, and see if it can manage to get through. I'm going to start off with Octillery first, and let's just see how this works out. So coming in with Octillery, we know Psybeam, Return, Aurora Beam, and Octazooka. We may end up replacing Octazooka with Surf at any time if it's not accurate enough, but I think we'll be able to get through this section. As far as level up moves, we're only going to get Focus Energy here. Ice Beam comes in at level 54, but we have seen already we're not going to get to that level, at least not yet, but we will get there before Lancey Boy, so that could actually help us quite a bit. I think for now our moveset is good enough to get through all the randos. So let's just test this and see how it actually works out. And without any issues, Octillery makes it all the way to the Marlboro Man. We've got the Psybeam, so I think this is enough, but let's see how it actually works. So up against the first Coughing, we go Psybeam here. That is a 1-hitter. That will bring out the second Coughing, which is also just going to get destroyed. Third Coughing, never stood a chance. Now we make it to the Wheezing. I'll just stick with the Psybeam here. It just misses the range to get a 1-hitter. We get poisoned by a Sludge, but I don't think it's going to matter. We just knock it out with Return. And now we can go for Psybeam on the next Coughing and Psybeam on the last Coughing. It was never in question. We easily beat the Marlboro Man there, thanks to the fact that we've got a Psychic type move. And now we can make our way downstairs to the rival, where technically we've got a good move for every opponent on this team, at least something that's neutrally effective. Like against the Haunter, we'll be able to go Octazooka, same against the Magnemite. So as long as we don't have any issues with accuracy luck, we should be able to get through here. Let's just see how this actually works out. So first up on the Golbat, I'm going to go for the Psybeam here. We don't get a 1-hitter. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. We're a little slower than this Pokemon too, so we get confused. Now we've made it to the Magnemite though, and Octazooka just one-shots. Meganium comes out. We can go Aurora Beam here. We do over half. It misses Poison Powder. Now it goes Razor Leaf, but we easily survive and take that Pokemon down. We can level up and learn Focus Energy. I'm actually going to skip this move. I think we can just reset for the critical hit if we absolutely need it. We will stick with Octazooka here on the Haunter. It's actually enough. I should have gone for the Psybeam, but hey, we'll take it. And we'll just go Octazooka here on the Sneasel as well to get the easy victory. Critical hit does the job. So just like that, we get through on the first attempt. We're ready to move on. I think we get through all the randos with no issues. So let's just make our way to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni and show him a Bazooka Octopus that I think is like one of the scariest Pokemon for him. I think we're going to get the very easy victory there. And after destroying hitting all of the rockets with no troubles whatsoever. We've made it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni, where I think we just go for the Octazooka and get the easy victory, but let's find out. First up on the Houndour, we go Octazooka in one shot. That brings out the Coughing next. We'll just go for the Psybeam and destroy it. And that brings out the final Houndoom. We are just a little bit slower here, so it's going to go Feint Attack. We hit the Octazooka though, and that's an easy victory. And we're going to just basically show him, like, come on, if you want to terrorize people, get a literal artillery shell cannon beast of a Pokemon that has 8 legs. That's the way you actually make people scared when they see this thing just coming loaded for bear, not when you just have a Houndoom and you're like, oh, look at my Houndoom, everybody. Though Houndoom is a cool looking Pokemon by all accounts, it still just won't inspire the same amount of fear as this Pokemon, clearly. If you disagree with me, go ahead and tell me why you think Houndoom is scarier than this one, but I'm just going to tell you right now that if I had the choice to go up against a Houndoom or go up against this thing, I'm taking the Houndoom all day. Because for the Houndoom, I'm going straight for treats and belly rubs, and I bet I can get that doggy to roll over for me, whereas this Octazooka, I think I would get completely destroyed. Still, with that done, we're just going to destroy everything in Claire's gym, I think, and make it to the final battle against her, where only one of the Pokemon has a super effective move against us. I think that Dragonair with Thunderbolt is going to get wrecked by the Aurora Beam, so I think we're perfectly fine here, but we'll test everything and just see. And at least against the Dragonair before Claire, we did one shot with the Aurora Beam. We might need Never Melt Ice here, so I'm just going to throw that on just in case, but I think we can just get the KOs on the Dragonairs, and then it's just about the Kingdra. So Claire attempt number 1, we go for Aurora Beam on the first Dragonair, and we get the one-hit KO. We get the level 44 right here. Second Dragonair comes out, we hit once again, one-hit KOing, so no Thunderbolts are coming in on this one. The third Dragonair also gets wrecked, so we've made it to the Kingdra now, and now we just have to see if we can manage to get through this Pokemon. I'm going to switch to Return since it's my strongest move effectively here. We do about half, it Hyper Beams, it has to recharge, and that just lets me get the 2-hit KO victory because she will never Hyper Potion on the turn that she is recharging from Hyper Beam. So just like that, we managed to get through that fight without really any difficulty whatsoever, and now we can just simply move on in the game. And this is why I think Octillery is actually set up to be a pretty good Pokemon on this setting. It just has so many moves, so eventually you would always expect it to be able to find some way through. When we get to the Ice Beam in the league, I think that's going to answer Lance for us, because we're not really scared of anything other than the dragons, and they're going to be 4 times weak to the move. So I just have to think that that's going to get us through. We might have to Quick Claw or something there, but ultimately it should get the job done. And at that point, it's just about getting a move for everything else. Well, we've got super effective water type moves for the Charizard and the Aerodactyl, and we're going to be at least only neutrally affected by normal type moves from the Gyarados. So I think we've got enough going there that it should work out, and I just don't think anything before that's really going to be a wall. I could certainly turn out to be wrong, but I think there's reasonable chances that this Pokemon goes all the way to Lance and then beats him and moves on to the Kanto section of the game. Still, we've got a lot of fights to take before that, of course. We've got to get through the entire league. We've got to get through Rival 5, but I think Rival 5 is not going to be too bad. We've got more than enough coverage for his team, so it's just a matter of getting the right move on the right Pokemon, and sometimes we might need a Quick Claw activation or to survive a hit. I'm honestly not sure. We'll test everything and see here, but I think Quick Claw is my first go-to in this fight, just in case we're slower than something. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, he leads off with the Sneasel. I'm just going to go Return right here and get the KO on that Pokemon. Out comes the Magneton. Let's switch to Octazooka. It turns out to be a 2-hit KO here, so maybe we need the Paralyzed Cure Berry. We do ultimately knock that Pokemon out. Out comes the Meganium, but we're too slow because of paralysis to take that one down. So I'm going to go for that Paralyzed Cure Berry, since I guess that probably gives us a better chance of getting through, at least against that Magneton. Otherwise, we would have to crit, though we could upgrade Octazooka as well to Surf, and that probably gets the win as well. Still, we'll just come back and test this again. Let's once again go return on the Sneasel to get the one hitter back to Octazooka on the Magneton. It paralyzes me, but now we should be able to just knock that Pokemon out. Sure enough, we can. That brings out the Meganium. We're going to go Aurora Beam, doing over half. It goes for the Razor Leaf, but we can just knock it out from there. We're still on about 2/3 health. We get Wing Attack from the Golbat, but we can knock it out with a critical hit Aurora Beam. Out comes the Haunter. It goes Curse, but we can just Psybeam that Pokemon down. And now we get to level 46 as the Kadabra comes out. We'll just go for Return and destroy that Pokemon. So just like that, we get through the rival on the second attempt, and it's just a matter of having the Paralyzed Cure Berry, and you're perfectly good to go. Now, when we get to Willy Boy in the next fight, I think our strategy is going to revolve around mostly just coverage. We might have to throw on Surf to have a stronger move, but I think a lot of those Pokemon are weaker against physical moves, so maybe Return is still the correct play. We could also replace Octazooka with a move like Hidden Power Dark if we absolutely need to. We'll just have to test it and see, but I think we'll stand up pretty well there. I think we'll have pretty decent chances in the league. We'll just have to see how it works out. For now, this Pokemon gets through. Let's check in on Mantine. And here Mantine is coming with Surf, Blizzard, Mud Slap, and Takedown on its moveset. Takedown might have to go at some point, but Surf and Blizzard should be pretty decent as we go through this section. We're going to get Agility at level 32, which could be good because we're not super fast. And then Wing Attack at level 40, which we don't have a great attack stat, but maybe that is an upgrade on the Takedown, so we may have to go for that as well. Still, for now, let's just see how we do through this section. We don't have great physical attack, but our special attack also is kind of meh. So I'm not sure how this is actually going to work out. Really, it's our special defense that is our main claim to fame here. And we're just going to have to hope that maybe Stab Surf is enough to get us through things. And then maybe when we come up against, say, a Meganium or whatever, we just go for the Blizzard to get the victory on those ones. Still here, via level up, we get a learned agility. I'm just going to throw it on over Takedown. I'm going to keep the Mud Slap strats. And maybe this is the best way to go through this challenge. I'm honestly not sure, but we'll test everything and just see what actually works. And sure enough, we make it to the Marlboro Man with no issues. I'm just going to make sure to have all the PP in the Surf. I just pressed my hotkey. That's why I had to resave here. And let's see if we can actually get through the Marlboro Man in this case. So first up on the first coughing, I'm just going to go Surf, and this is a one-hit KO. So that makes me think that we're probably getting through this just fine, because as long as Surf is one-shotting the coughings, it's only the wheezing that has the potential to be a two-hitter, and I don't think it can deal enough damage, so I think we win. It hits Sludge and does decent amounts of damage, but it's not enough, so we're just going to knock out the last two coughings and be done with this fight. And with that, we're ready to get to the basement and rival number 4. We've already got the Blizzard for the first Golbat, so we can just one-shot that Pokemon most likely. Then we'll just have to see how we match up against the rest of the team. I'm guessing it's the Meganium team, if I recall correctly, in which case we'll need to Blizzard that Pokemon as well. But then everything else, Surf should be enough, but let's find out. So rival 4 attempt number 1, I'm going to go agility first to make sure I'm faster than everything. Now let's go for the Blizzard on this Pokemon, and that is a one-hit KO. We get to level 35. Out comes the Magnemite. We snap out of Confusion and Surf and get the one-hitter there as well. Haunter comes out next. We go Surf and knock that Pokemon out. We must be up against the Feraligatr team, otherwise this order makes no sense. But maybe it does. I guess we're a flying type. Maybe he's scared of that. So against the Sneasel, we'll just go for the Surf here, and it's going to be a simple two-hit KO. And sure enough, it is the Meganium team. So here we're faster. We missed the first Blizzard. He poison powders. We nearly get the one-hit KO. And now I think even Surf ends this one when he just goes Reflect there. Sure enough, we get the victory. We're ready to move on in the challenge. He just never really stood a chance. I guess he's just so scared of neutral damage with the Meganium and that we have some flying type move that he just doesn't want to send that Pokemon out. And that's perfectly fine by me if he wants to save it till the end. We'll just knock everything else out on the way there. Still, we're going to have to just get through all these randos now. We should be perfectly fine against Mr. Wannabe Giovanni at the end of this. He is not going to have the moves to knock out a Mantine quickly, I don't think. So we should get that victory. We've got the Blizzard strats all ready for Claire's gym as well. Plus, we're not really weak against anything from the Kingdra. So I think we're going to get an easy victory there. But we're just going to have to see how this actually works out. And sure enough, we make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni here. We've got Surf I think we get the victory. Let's just see how easy it is. So up against the Houndour, we go Surf here and one-shot that Pokemon. Out next comes the Coughing. We're faster and we can just one-shot. And finally, we've got the Houndoom and we're faster than this Pokemon as well. So Surf will just one-hit KO. And just like that, we get the easy victory and we're ready to move on in this challenge. Now, I'm honestly just not sure what's going to be the best here against the Kingdra because we only have 5 PP in Blizzard and I think we have to hit all of those Blizzards, especially on the first couple of Dragonairs in order to knock them out. Maybe once we get through the Kingdra, we could just get through the last Dragonair by spamming a bunch of Mud Slaps and whatnot. We'll just have to see, but I get the feeling that there's a high likelihood at least that we're going to need to go for the Blizzards on Kingdra to have a chance there, since it is at least neutrally effective and uses our special attack stat. It's probably our best play. Though we are very close to getting Wing Attack, and that would actually be our best against the Kingdra, I guess. So we're going to have to decide which move to forget to learn Wing Attack. Maybe we just forget the Mud Slaps in order to go for it. That might be logical given that we don't have Stab and Mud Slap. It's only a 20 base power move and accuracy strats. Who knows? We could be punting by forgetting the move, but at this point, we're basically just YOLOing into our strongest special moves, and that moveset spot might just be better as Hidden Power Dark going forward, or even adding on a move like Waterfall or adding on Icy Wind just to have more PP to damage our opponents. So I'm honestly not sure, but we'll just test a bunch of different things and see. For now though, I think that we go like Never Melt Ice in this fight and go in with the Blizzards and just hope that we can deal enough damage here. So Clair attempt number 1, we go for Blizzard on the first Dragonair. I didn't recover PP coming in. Oh no. Let's just correct that very quickly so that we actually have all the Blizzards, because the second Dragonair knows Thunderbolt and it's going to wreck us if we don't have the one-hit KO. So I think we need at least 2 Blizzard PP to even have a chance here. Let's try this again. So back to this fight, properly healed this time. We again one-shot the first Dragonair. Second Dragonair comes out. We miss. We get the Thunder Wave and now the Thunderbolts. We do manage to still knock that Pokemon out. We get to level 41 as the third Dragonair comes out. It misses Slam, then it hits Slam when we're fully paralyzed. We still manage to knock it out in a single hit. That brings us to Kingdra. It Hyper Beams. We survive. Blizzard doesn't do nearly as much as I would have hoped, and we simply get knocked out from there. Let's try this again. If we do have to miss a Blizzard, we would highly prefer to miss it on the first Dragonair rather than the second one, and we would highly prefer that they miss Thunder Wave on that turn. This time we managed to hit the first 2 Dragonairs with the Blizzards. We knock out the third Dragonair. Now we're back to the Kingdra, but we're not paralyzed. We do decent damage there with the Blizzard. Now we can go for the Wing Attack. We do like next to nothing with this move. She had to recharge and we didn't manage to hit that turn because we were fully paralyzed. So we still lose in that case, but it is looking better. We do have a chance when we get to that final Kingdra. This time we just hit a second Blizzard and we actually get the range to knock that Pokemon out. So in the end, it works against Clair. She tried to cheese with some smokescreen action, but we were able to get through that with the Blizzard and get the victory. And with that, we're just gonna go tell some old guys about how we just completely destroyed Clair with Blizzard strats. She's gonna complain that we reset like 3 times in order to beat her. I think both points are valid, but they're still going to tell her to go warn Lancey Boy about what's coming for him, because clearly we're far too powerful for anything that Clair could even try to put up against us. So here, when we get through to the rival, I think we're going to be perfectly fine with this Pokemon, at least if we get the right ranges. We're reasonably fast. We've got the agility as well if we do need to outspeed something. What I'm more worried about is when we get into the league, because when we finally do find anything with an electric type move, our 4 times weakness is going to be terrible, but we'll just have to see how it works out if we get through the rival, which I think we will, but let's just find out. So first up on the first Sneasel, I'm just going to set up 1 agility just to make sure I'm faster than everything here. Then we will go Surf against this Pokemon. It turns out to be a 2-hit KO, but we do manage to take it down and get to level 42. Magneton comes out next. We will stick with Surf here and once again not get the 1-hitter, but it misses the Thunder Wave, so that's perfectly fine. Golbat comes out next. Blizzard connects and we one-shot. Now we've got the Haunter out against us. I'm going to stick with Surf because our physical attack is so bad. That brings out the Kadabra, this is a spot where I think Wing Attack is actually the best play. It's a 2-hit KO, but we do manage to take that one out. And Meganium, we missed the first of our Blizzards, then Future Sight misses, so that's kind of nice. And then Blizzard just one-shots the Meganium for full health. So at the end of the day, we get through that just fine. We should match up reasonably well in the next fight against Willy Boy. We'll just have to see how it goes, but at least against the Exeggutor, we've got Blizzard and we've got Wing Attack. We've at least got a neutral move for the Slowbro. We might have to freeze the Slowbro. We'll just have to see. But at least for now, we've got some chances, I think, of getting through that fight. And then we just have to see how we do against the rest of the league. But I think when we get to Lance and his Dragonites, if we don't outspeed in one shot, we're going to get wrecked. But we might already be fast enough that we're going to outspeed there. And as long as that is the case, I guess we set up 1 agility on the first Gyarados to guarantee that we outspeed. Then it's just a matter, I think, of getting through the Gyarados and we have a chance against everything as long as we've got Blizzard and Surf on the moveset. But we'll just have to see. For now, this Pokemon's to the steps of the league. Let's check in now on our member pick, Remoraid. So with that, we've got Dead Rise for No One as a channel member supporting LilGunFish. And this Remoraid is running basically the same moveset as its evolved form at this point, with the only exception being it has Surf instead of Octazooka. It makes sense, we're weaker, we probably needed the extra damage output, but in theory this moveset is enough to cover basically everything. We just have lower offensive stats. So we're gonna have to see how that goes as we go through this section. Still, the Rando Rockets shouldn't be an issue, so let's just see how this goes. And with no issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man here. So let's see how he likes staring down the barrel of a LilGunFish, as we have, I think, all the moves that we need to completely destroy him, but let's find out. So first things first, interestingly, Stab Surf is stronger than Psybeam here, so we're going to go Surf against this Coughing, and that is going to be a 1-hit KO. That brings out the second Coughing. We can stick with the Surf here as well, one-shotting it. The third Coughing also comes out and gets completely destroyed. Now the Wheezing will go for Surf, and this is going to be a 2-hit KO. That's perfectly fine. We'll finish it off with a Psybeam here, and now we should be perfectly fine for the rest of these Coughings. Just spam the Surf and get the easy victory. The Marlboro Man could never stand up to this. I mean, the fake cowboy, he got outdrawn right here in the old Western standoff by LilGunFish and Dead Rise for No One. So with that, we're now ready to make our way to the basement. Let's see how we do against the rival here. But yet again, against everything other than like Meganium, we're pretty much best off just going for Surf. In any neutral situation, it's going to be better than just about everything. So we're just going to have to see how it works out. But I think we can get through. Let's find out. So first up on the Golbat, I'm just going Surf right here. I've run out of Surf PP, oh no. Still, we can just Psybeam that Pokemon down. That brings out the Magnemite. This is why not having Surf PP is an issue. I'm going to make sure to heal up properly this time. Let's try this again. So this time against the Golbat, we will once again go Surf. It is a 2-hit KO. We get confused, hit ourselves once, but we still knock that Pokemon out eventually. The Magnemite also gets wrecked. Now we've got the Meganium. We have to go Aurora Beam here. It does less than half, and the Razor Leaf ends us. So we are going to need a stronger move for that Pokemon if we're going to get through this. And the only stronger move is Ice Beam. I mean, I guess we can reset to try to get a critical hit and maybe get a better range on that Golbat. So I'm going to try a couple times just to see, but this looks a little bit sus. Still, we get through this time with no damage on that Pokemon. We'll go Surf on the Magnemite there. Meganium comes out. We'll go Aurora Beam here. It misses a Poison Powder. It goes Reflect. Now it knocks me out, and I just hit myself multiple times in confusion there, which was the issue. So we really need better confusion luck if we're going to get through this one. Let's try this again. This time we once again hit ourselves as it goes Aurora Beam. Now it goes Razor Leaf, and a critical hit one-shots me. So yet again, we're going to have to try this and see if we can get better luck than that. It might make sense to simply go for the Bitter Berry here to try to avoid that status, because that seems to be the real wall to us. When we get through without confusion, now it just comes down to whether or not Meganium goes for damaging moves or not. We hit the first Aurora Beam, it goes Reflect right there. We hit the second Aurora Beam, it hits the Razor Leaf, but we survive, and we just knock it out and get to level 38. Haunter can come out next. We'll just go Surf right here and get the 1-hit KO, and that brings out the Sneasel, where we'll just stick with the Surf since it is our same type move. Reflect wears off, but then Feint Attack just knocks me out. We'll need a critical hit here, it looks like. this is not looking great. So back to Sneasel again here. We're going to need some luck on this Pokemon. So let's go for the Surf. The Feint Attack does a lot of damage. And honestly, we don't survive here. If we get hit one more time, we're going to always have to get a crit on that last Pokemon when we get there in order to get a victory. So it at least raises the possibility that Ice Beam is the solution here. Since it's much stronger than Aurora Beam, it would definitely 2-hit KO against the Meganium. So if it goes Reflect in that case, we would simply get the KO and get through on much better health. So we might have to go for that. Otherwise, like I said, it's a crit or nothing here, it looks like. This time we actually managed to survive the second Feint Attack with 4 HP remaining. So we just got a better, luckier range. That's the only reason we were able to finally get through. Still, now that that's done, I think we're good to go against the rest of these randos. So let's just make our way through them nice and easy. We can completely destroy Mr. Wannabe Giovanni at the end of this section, and then it's just a question of whether or not we can get through Clair and Rival 5, but at least we get quite a few levels between now and then. And here we make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni with no issues as well, so we're just going to point the Gunfish at him and say that if he doesn't want to get completely sprayed, he's going to have to give up peacefully. I don't think he's going to take us up on the offer, so let's see how this goes. So first up on the Houndour, we go for the Surf and get the 1-hit KO. The Coughing, we also can one-shot with the Surf. Out comes Houndoom. It's too slow. We Surf and we win. So just like that, we're ready to move on in the game. We're ready to go to Clair's gym. We've got the Aurora Beam that I think will be enough for the Dragons. And then we've got plenty of neutral moves to use against that Kingdra. So we'll just have to see how it actually works out. But I think we'll get a pretty easy victory in that gym. And here with our LilGunFish, we just barely missed the range to one-shot the Dragonair just before Clair. That makes me think that we might not deal enough damage here unless we go for Never Melt Ice. So I'm going to test that and see if that's enough to get me through or not. Otherwise, we could actually be in a tough spot here. So we're just going to have to test this and see. So Clair attempt number 1, we go Aurora Beam on the first Dragonair. It's not even close to getting the one-hitter. So that tells me we're probably going to have to change strategies. We get a level up and learn Ice Beam here in the middle of the fight though. Obviously, if we get to use that, we will win. So wait just a second. We might just need to cheese our way through that first Dragonair with the Paralyzed Cure Berry. Let's test this and see. So Clair round 2 here. I'm just going to go Aurora Beam again on the first Dragonair. It goes Thunder Wave, but I have the Paralyzed Cure Berry on this time. Even Psybeam should just knock that Pokemon out. Now we get a level up and learn the Ice Beam. We just learn it over Aurora Beam. Let's see what that does now. Oh, I misclicked in with Psybeam. Oh no. Still, we can Ice Beam that Pokemon down. We Ice Beam on the next Dragonair, and that is a 1-hit KO. We've made it to Kingdra. Ice Beam is neutrally effective. It doesn't do that much though. It's only about a third. So we're going to have to try this again. Let's see if we can get there this time without any damage. So when we properly have the move on, we can just destroy the second Dragonair. We'll destroy the third Dragonair. We might have to fish for a freeze here on the Kingdra. I'm honestly not sure. Once again, we do about a third here. It's going for Smoke Screens against me. So she goes for the Hyper Potion. She goes Smoke Screen again, and she just lets me win with full HP. She missed 3 Smoke Screens on me in that fight, and she just kept going for the move. Like, come on, Clair. Clearly, I mean, she's gonna blame Game Freak because she read that the move was 100% accurate. It's actually like, 75% accurate. So take that for what you will. I guess I will give Clair her due on that. But man, oh man, LilGunFish gets the Ice Beam at the perfect time to be able to stunt on Clair once it's actually properly healed there. And with that Ice Beam, again, I think this is a Pokemon that might just be able to go stunt on the league and get to Lance and just destroy his dragons. We'll have to see. For now, we'll tell these old guys about how we got that Ice Beam at the perfect time. Clearly, Game Freak tested minimum battles here and figured out exactly how to get this LilGunFish through. It was clearly part of their standard play testing back in the day. Prove me wrong. I'm just saying that if I had been a game tester back then, I would have been telling them, oh yeah, this is perfect. We got the settings dialed in when we've got the Remoraid learning the Ice Beam right there on Clair. But with that now done, we can make our way off to Rival 5 and then eventually the Pokemon League. I think we've got enough moves now. We've got the Ice Beam for that Meganium, so hopefully we can take it down in 2 hits. And as long as we can, maybe it just does something stupid the first turn and gives us a chance at a very easy victory. So Rival 5 attempt number 1 right here. I'm going Surf on the first Sneasel, though maybe Return is the better play there. I'm honestly not sure. Still, we take that Pokemon down in 2 hits. Magneton comes out next. We go Surf, and we do not get the one hitter. It goes Thunder Shock against me. Still, I should be able to knock that out with anything at this point. We'll Ice Beam on the Meganium. It's going to be a 2-hit KO right there. I'm going to put on the Paralyzed Cure Berry because I think we're hoping that the Magneton tries to paralyze us. We've talked about this a lot, but technically on this setting, you could save, come back the next day, get yourself another berry, and just move on. So that's why we allow effectively all the Paralyzed Cure Berries here. In a standard solo run, this wouldn't be quite as good, so just keep that in mind as well. Still, we can come back to this fight now with the Paralyzed Cure Berry on, just praying that we actually get the Thunder Wave here. It could also miss with Thunder Wave, which would be fine. We instead freeze the Magneton when I go for Ice Beam, so that works for me too. I just figured we'd go for that because it was a 2-hit KO either way. So we get to the Meganium on much better health this time at least. Let's go for the Ice Beam. It goes Reflect. That allows me to knock it out without taking a Razor Leaf. Golbat comes out. We'll just go Ice Beam and not quite 1-hit KO. Oh no. Still, we can knock it out with a Return after that. Out comes the Haunter. We'll just Surf on that Pokemon. Easy victory. The Kadabra, I guess we can go for the Return since the Reflect faded, knocking that one out in a single hit. And just like that, the Rival goes down. So we're ready to move on to the Pokemon League with the LilGunFish. We've got a ton of moves. I think we've got reasonable chances. So let me just give a massive thank you to Dead Rise for No One, supporting LilGunFish for 22 months, all the way to the steps of the Pokemon League. We're ready to find out if this Pokemon can actually get through the league once it's just saved earlier on in the run. I mean, it's really just that Rival 2 that's way too much for this Pokemon. But at the end of the day, we can make it work once we get through that one. So we're going to move on with this one. And like I said, I'm kind of excited to see how it goes because it has so much move coverage that I think it can get through everything. We'll definitely test and find out. But with that, that does it for our water types in this episode. Let's check in on our results so far. So now that we've gotten through that, we've got 114 challengers legitimately up there in the pass call-in. Mantine was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. I thought that Pokemon might give me more trouble, but the fact that we had Blizzard did kind of make that one easy. And at the end of the day, Octillery just has way too much firepower, as well as its unevolved form Remoraid, so we get through with those without any real issues. Now it's time to move on to our last 2 Pokemon. We've got Houndour and Houndoom. Obviously, we do Houndoom first to see if it can get through. Then we will do the Houndour. You could argue for doing Houndour first to find out if it gets through Clair, since that would just guarantee that we get through with Houndoom. But in that case, I would have to play through with Houndoom anyway. So I always start with the fully evolved form on that basis. And I think that these Pokemon are going to be fine here. We probably have bite strats, but I don't know. Houndour isn't that fast. That could be its downfall. We're just going to have to see. But let's lead off with the Houndoom and find out. So coming in with our Houndoom here, we know Bite, Headbutt, Mud Slap, and Ember. We're going to learn Flamethrower at level 41, but we won't get there before Clair. I mean, we wouldn't even want the move really for Clair, so I guess it's fine. I think there's a decent chance that we have to add on a stronger physical move, though, if we're going to get through Clair. Sludge Bomb exists as one possibility. We could get Shadow Ball as another. And then, of course, Max Friendship Return could be the strategy if nothing else works. And then if we run into problems somewhere else, of course, we could always go for like a Fire Blast if we really need it, but we're just gonna have to see how this actually works out with this Pokemon. I've said many times that this is one of my favorite designs in Gen 2. I actually think it's a super cool Pokemon design. In fact, I like it so much that I've been convincing RBY Pokemon Challenges to do a backboard run of it, because everybody does like the super strong Pokemon, you know, but Houndoom deserves a little bit of chance to shine in Gen 1 because it's just such a cool looking Pokemon. So if you're interested in that, you might actually like just one time only, go watch an RBY Pokemon Challenges video, but then quickly come back here. Obviously, nobody wants to stay over there too long watching his videos. Otherwise, it quickly goes to his head. He starts like, you know, talking trash around the house and stuff. So I'm just saying, be careful, but definitely if there's a Houndoom video over there, I mean, you just got to go see it. But with that, we're going to make our way through this section of the game. I think we've got reasonable chances against everything. We shouldn't do too bad against the Marlboro Man, but let's see how it goes. So first up against his first coughing, we're just going to go for the bite here. We get the one-hit KO. That brings out the second coughing. We can stick with bite and destroy it as well. The third coughing comes out and gets wrecked. That brings out the wheezing. We do about half, but we get the flinch. So we just easily get through that Pokemon. And that means the rest of these coughings are going down with no issues. And we're ready to move on in this challenge. Now, the fact that we've got stab bite always gives us a chance to flinch opponents. So unless they resist dark type, we're basically good to go. And then against most things that resist dark type, I mean, we're basically talking about steel types there. We can go for our fire type moves, and everything else we've got neutrally effective damage. So I think we get through this just fine, but let's just see how this actually works out. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, I'm just going to bite on the first Golbat. We get a flinch and just two-shot that Pokemon. So we get through getting to level 35. Out now comes the Feraligatr. I'm sticking with the bite. We get a nice crit there. Water Gun doesn't do enough, so we just knock it out. Now we've got the Sneasel. I'm going for the Ember here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. It got a critical hit on me, but I do manage to take it down. Magnemite, we can also go for the Ember, so we destroy it. And now Haunter, back to the bite, and it's an easy victory on Rival number 4. We're ready to move on in the game. We just match up really well against everything really other than the Golbat and the Feraligatr. Everything else we've got a move that's pretty good, and especially once we get the Flamethrower, I think we're gonna wreck Rival 5. So we just got to get through Clair, and before that we're just gonna get the easy levels from these randos, and of course from Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. We're going to teach him to meet his own doom when he sees our Houndoom against his Houndoom, and he's going to know the true meaning of doom at that point, and he's going to understand why nobody actually respects him and calls him Mr. Meet Your Doom anymore. We now call him Mr. Wannabe Houndoom because we've got the real deal right here. And sure enough, we make it to the final executive with no issues, so let's just see how this fight goes with our Houndoom here. First up on the Houndour, I'm just going to go for Headbutt here, and we one-shot that Pokemon. That brings out the coughing. We can go for Bite and get the one-hit KO. Now his Houndoom is 4 levels lower than us, even though we're on minimum battles. That's just embarrassing. We completely destroy him, and that teaches you kids why you don't do team runs. Like, everybody wants to do a team, challenge of Nuzlocke, something like that. You're just spreading XP across multiple Pokemon, and then you end up getting completely crushed by some guy who's just playing minimum battles in Gen 2 because there are so many required battles that he can just get so many levels on you even with a slow level up Pokemon. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, if you want to play minimum battles with a team, that would be a greater challenge. But I mean, when you do the whole team challenge, otherwise you're just wasting an awful lot of time on things where you could just be getting through like way easier than that, at least way quicker with just one Pokemon. But now we have to see if we can actually manage to get through Clair with this one, and that's where you might want some team members, because you could not just get completely wrecked by her 2 Pokemon using Surf. So there is a little bit of give and take, but I think we're going to be able to get through Clair just fine. I think it's going to come down to bite strats, but once we manage to get enough flinches, we should get the victory. I don't think it's going to take that many resets, but we'll have to test it and see. But here against the Dragonair just before Clair, we see yet again we are not one-hit KOing, so we're going to need a Paralyzed Cure Berry, and we're going to need a little bit of luck with flinches to get through to that Kingdra, and even then we might need some flinch luck to get through. So let's see if we can manage that luck or not as we try this fight. Clair attempt number 1 right here. I'm going bite on the first Dragonair. It manages the Thunder Wave, but we do eventually knock that one out, so no more Surf using Dragonair at least. That brings out the Kingdra next. We go bite. It goes Smokescreen against me. That means that we're not going to get one-hit KO'd. Now it does go Surf and does over half, but we get a nice bite flinch, so we managed to take that one down. We get a level up to learn Flamethrower here, which is also perfectly fine with me. We bite the next Dragonair. It goes Slam, but we knock it out. We need a flinch right here. Instead, we miss the bite, so we lose. Let's try this one again. This time we flinch the first Dragonair. We're back to the Kingdra. It hits Surf immediately on me, and I'm going to need the flinch. It hits another Surf, so we simply go down. We're going to have to try this again. This time we get the flinch and we knock out the Kingdra, so we're going back to the last 2 Pokemon again, this time with no accuracy drops. We survive a Slam. We knock that Pokemon out. We just need the flinch, and we do not get it, and we lose. Granted, Slam could have also missed, so we got to keep that in mind. We still had chances there at the end. Even after we don't get the flinch, there is the chance that we get the victory. This time we get a Thunder Wave miss from the Dragonair just after the Kingdra, so we've got decent HP going to the last Dragonair. It does hit the Thunder Wave. It slams, but we survive. So just a few attempts there. We do manage to get through Clair. It wasn't the prettiest fight. It does require a lot of luck with flinches. That tells me that we're probably getting wrecked with the Houndour. We might be going for some rare candies here, but at least we managed to get through with the fully evolved form, and we're ready to move on in the game. Now, Houndoom, I'm not sure how far it's actually going to go. I think Lance might end up being the wall at the end of this one. I think if any move can get us through, it's going to be Stab Bite. Even then, it's going to be very YOLO, but at least it gives us the chance to get flinches, to have a chance to knock things out. It might be like combining a Stab Bite with like a Max Friendship Return or something. I'm honestly not sure what's going to work. I mean, Iron Tail does exist as a strategy for the Aerodactyl at the end of this, so that could be one way of getting through, assuming that we can get to that Pokemon, but there's a lot standing in front of us. I think we can get at least through Willy Boy and Koga though, so we'll just have to see how we go from there, assuming that we get through this rival nice and easy. Rival 5 attempt number 1 right here. On the first Sneasel, obviously Flamethrower just completely destroys that Pokemon. We get to level 42 right here. Feraligatr comes out. We're going to need some flinches. It goes Water Gun. It actually doesn't do that much, so we'll get through this Pokemon every time, it looks like, with just 3 bites. That brings out the Golbat next. Bite, but I guess we should be going Flamethrower here. That is the stronger move. The Haunter comes out. I think we can just stick with Flamethrower and destroy it. Sure enough, we can. Magneton never stood a chance against us. It gets wrecked. And now I guess we can bite Kadabra just because we want to, and we get a super easy victory just like that. And now we're ready to move on in the game, where Willy Boy, I think, is going to be quaking in his boots, but the rest of the league is kind of rubbing their hands together, looking at this Pokemon like, yeah, we can take it. I mean, I guess not Koga. He does have 3 bug types that are going to get wrecked, but definitely Bruno. Bruno is kind of looking at this one like, I actually have a chance on this one. So we're going to have to see how it works out when we actually get there. But for now, we are moving on in this challenge. But with Houndoom done, we've made it to our last Pokemon for this episode. It's Houndour time. We're coming in with Bite, Fire Blast, Headbutt, and Mud Slap. We're going to get Flamethrower at level 35 and Crunch at level 43, but we won't get to level 43 until the very end of this. So we're just going to have to see how we go there. We do have Solar Beam strats once we get through that part of the game. Shadow Ball, Return, Sludge Bomb are all available, but I mean, Fire Blast is our strongest move, period. It's as strong as we can get. The Dark type doesn't offer us anything other than Crunch, and we still have to gain quite a few levels for that. So I'm just not sure how this is going to go. We're going to test everything and see, but this could turn out to be a little rough. We also suffer a lot from just having much lower stats than our evolved form. So it could be that Houndour is the one that's done or has to use a bunch of rare candies to get through this section. I'm honestly not sure how it's going to work out. What we can say though is that Houndour is trying to evolve into Houndoom at this point. So if you did a Houndour line full game solo run, you would be able to get to this point in the game on minimum battles, and you would know that you're getting to the league on minimum battles. It's just there that you would possibly be running into a wall. And without too much issue, Houndour does make it to the Marlboro Man. So let's just see if we can burn him up here with our Fire Blasts. I don't think Bite's gonna one-shot against the random coughings here, but maybe it does. We'll just have to test this and see. So first things first, I'm actually just going to try the Bite strat just to see if it's enough. It is not. We need a 2-hit KO on the coughing, so that tells me let's go Fire Blast instead. Of course, they go for the smoke screen, knowing that we're going for the Fire Blast. Still, we knock out the second coughing. We can take down the third coughing. That brings out the wheezing. We miss our first Fire Blast. We hit the second one. It nearly KOs this Pokemon, and now we get Explosion and we lose. Let's try this one again. So this time we're going to Fire Blast the first coughing just to take it down. Fire Blast the second coughing. Now we get to level 34. We can Fire Blast the third coughing, but we miss. We hit after that though, so that's perfectly fine. Let's Bite on the wheezing. It looks like a 3-hitter, and it goes Explosion yet again. I think we need a Charcoal here. That might be our solution. The main point is that if we manage to hit with Charcoal, we might just be able to one-shot the wheezing and get through that Pokemon. The reason that it's going for the Explosion is because we have such terrible terrible defense that it knows that it can just knock me out from basically full health. So this time we get through to the Weezing on full health, no accuracy drops. We hit the Fire Blast. We still don't get the one hitter. It goes for Sludge and poisons me. Still, we get through that Pokemon. We can Fire Blast the second to last Coughing. Now let's go into the Bite, and it's a 2-hit KO, but we do manage to get the victory once we actually get through that Weezing there, but we did not manage the KO, much as I would have liked to. Charcoal just wasn't quite enough. This is one of the things that I've noticed a lot in my runs. I get a lot of times where people ask, like, why didn't you put on Never Melt Ice? Why didn't you put on the Pink Bow? Why didn't you put on the Hardstone, etc.? In a lot of cases, the difference that makes isn't actually that big, and it has to do with the way that RNG works in the Pokemon games. The difference between a high roll and a low roll are actually pretty big enough to offset completely the effect of the item that you're adding on. So while you might be saying, well, you have a higher percentage chance of getting the one-hit KO there, it doesn't actually mean that you're gonna one-hit KO in a lot of cases. Usually if you're not quite getting the KO, unless that's specifically a low roll, then adding on that item that boosts the power doesn't like guarantee that you're gonna one-shot, and it often just makes it maybe a range to get it, and sometimes not even that. Sometimes it's that you got a really high roll on the first one where you thought you could get the KO if you just throw on that item, and then it turns out that you generally don't get such a high roll, so you don't get the KO. So just take that for what you will. That's why I tend to go for like a Quick Claw or a Berry there much more often than just going for the stat boosting item. Still, I'm gonna try it here against the rival. I'm gonna see if Charcoal is enough. It's probably not. We might have to add on a different item instead, but let's just see how it works. So first up here against the Golbat, I came in without any Fire Blasts. We can see Bite does less than half, so I'm going to have to try this one again with proper PP. So when we come back with proper PP, let's see what Fire Blast does here. It does not one-shot. We get confused. Now we're getting Wing Attack. We take a lot of damage, but we get a level up to level 45. We can learn Flamethrower. I'm actually going to learn it over Fire Blast because it has more PP and it's more accurate, and we can always just relearn Fire Blast if we really want to. So that's my strategy right there. Now we're going to Bite on Feraligatr, and I think we need 2 flinches to get through that Pokemon. And this whole setup makes me think we probably want to give a Bitter Berry to our Pokemon rather than the Charcoal. And then what we want to do is go for like a Bite followed by a Fire Blast on that first Golbat, and I think that will get the KO. So coming back to this with the new setup, we'll Bite first. It goes Confuse Ray. That's perfectly fine. We snap out of Confusion thanks to the Bitter Berry, but then we miss the Fire Blast. Oh no. Still, we get a level up here. We will learn the Flamethrower just because it's more reliable. That brings us back to the Feraligatr. We Bite. It goes Water Gun. We Bite again, getting a crit, but it doesn't flinch, so we simply lose. This time we flinch the Golbat, so we get through just fine there. Once again, I'm still going Flamethrower here. We get Rage from the Feraligatr, and that means we get to knock it out in 3 hits. We can just Bite on the Haunter, Flamethrower on the Magnemite, and we've got Flamethrower for the final Sneasel. I just don't want to miss there. That's why I think the Flamethrower is better, and ultimately it does work out for us. Like I said, if we ever see that we need the power, that's where we can go for the Fire Blast TM again. For now though, I think that Flamethrower is basically enough for everything, so we should be able to get through the rest of this section just fine. But let's see how we do against Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. And sure enough, we make it to this final executive with no issues. So let's just see if Houndour can completely stunt on even his evolved Doggo. I think we're gonna have a reasonable chance here. So first up on the Houndour, we're just going to go for the Headbutt here. Turns out to be a 2-hitter and he roars. So I'm going to have to reset here because he forced another Pokemon out. Let's try this again. This time we get the one-shot with the Headbutt. So clearly that's a range. We knock out the Coughing after that. And now I'm going to Headbutt on this Houndoom. We do less than half. Still, we're going to get the 3-hit KO, and that's enough. He just smogs multiple times. So we simply win. Clearly, Mr. Wannabe Giovanni thinks that his Houndoom is a Coughing. He's been spending way too much time with the Marlboro Man here, and that leads to him getting a really embarrassing loss where it turns out that he can't even beat the unevolved form of his main ace Pokemon. Now, however, we're going to have to make our way to Claire's gym where we might be getting completely wrecked. Like, we do have Stab with Bite, which could help us here. We might even have to go like Black Glasses or something, but the question is, do we have 2-hit KOs on those Dragonairs, or do they turn out to be 3-hit KOs? If they're 3-hit KOs, KOs, our odds of surviving are way worse because we have to survive a whole additional turn against those Pokemon. We already saw that it was really close on Houndoom, and that really is the issue when you're stepping down to these unevolved forms and you're at the same level because it's minimum battles and your stats just don't make up for getting stronger moves at lower levels. Like, there comes a point where you just can't stand up to anything, and that's what we might be looking at here with Clair. I think it's 100% has to come down to bite luck in order to get flinches to get through this one. We might have to throw on max power return in order to have a better move to KO the opponents, but I'm honestly just not sure how this is going to work out. Like, I say that many times per episode, but this is one where everything that we know about this Pokemon leads us to say this is going to be an incredibly tough battle, and yet it's the only place that we can go on minimum battles at this point. We have no other options. The game doesn't open up again until we get to Kanto, and then we can start routing around however we want. So yeah, this could turn out to be a little bit tough. We do fortunately have a few YOLO strats available to us because we do have the Mud Slap on our moveset. We could go for a Flamethrower even if it's resisted to try to get a burn on something as a way to get through, especially the later Dragonairs on the team for Clair, so that could be a strategy as well. But we're going to have to really hope that we can manage to get the luck to get through this one. So Clair attempt number 1, I've got the Paralyzed Cure Berry on, and we're going to go straight for the bite. Let's hope it does at least 50% here. It looks like we can get the 2-hit KO on this first Dragonair. Sure enough, we do. Out comes the Kingdra. We are faster, but it just destroys me with a critical hit Surf. And we can see it looks like a 4-hit KO here with the bite. So this could be really, really luck-based to get through. And it turns out the first Dragonair isn't even a guaranteed 2-hit KO. It's range, so yeah, we're probably not going to get through this anytime soon. We're definitely going to need a lot of luck, especially when this first Pokemon goes Surf on us and just 2-hit KOs us there because we get no flinches. This time we do get the 2-hit KO with the flinch, so I'm gonna go for a Mud Slap here on the Kingdra. That gets 1 miss for us. Now it does hit Surf and we get wrecked from full health, so we cannot take a single hit here from the Kingdra if we're gonna get through this one. That is going to require us to get a crazy amount of flinch luck here. It's still not technically impossible, so I think we've got a reset for it, but it's not going to feel good. This time we flinch it once, but we don't flinch it a second time, so we simply go down. So here, what I think we need to do is actually learn Sunny Day so that we have a way to reduce the damage from that Surf. I'm going to learn it over Headbutt. Headbutt is always relearnable, so there's no reason why we have to keep that move. So let's see if this gives us a chance. So in order to get this to work, what I think we need is a flinch turn 1. If it hits the Thunder Wave, I think we're getting wrecked. Still, we're going to have to go for the Sunny Day on the Dragonair. There's no way we can really set it up on the Kingdra. Here we get a miss from the Thunder Wave. We even get a second miss, so we're going to be able to take that Dragonair down. But now we've got the Harsh Sunlight. We get the flinch on Kingdra. We flinch it again. We flinch it even a third time. She goes for the Hyper Potion there. We get another flinch. I'm going to set up Sunny Day right here, hoping to survive against a Surf. I do. She hyper beams me down from there, so I lose. We would have needed 1 more flinch in order to get the victory, and we just could not get it. So this time she goes for Hyper Beam with the Kingdra. We don't quite get the range to knock her out there though. Still, I went for 1 accuracy drop. She missed a couple Surfs. We just couldn't quite get the range. We're gonna have to try this one again. This time she hyper beams me with the Kingdra and allows me to knock her out the next turn. So that brings us to the second Dragonair, and it slams and knocks me out. So I still lose even when I get through the Kingdra. That is ridiculous. Of course, it's because Kingdra is going for things like Smokescreen on me when I do get there with the Sunny Day setup, and it's only because it goes for silly moves like that that I even have a real chance of getting through here. So we just have to keep that in mind. Like, we're still going to need God tier luck against the Kingdra to really have a chance in this one. Still, here after a bunch of attempts. I'm not getting this to go. I'm not even getting close. So I think we have to drop some rare candies here. There are 6 technically available, so I'm going to put the 6 in the bag and let's just see how we go. So I'm going to lead off with 3 of them on the basis that that could get me to a damage rounding threshold against that first Dragonair. Maybe I just 2-hit KO at this point, but I also get to learn Crunch, which is a stronger move. Though, of course, it doesn't have the chance to flinch. I'm going to learn it over Sunny Day at this point. This might be a mistake, but let's just see how this actually works for us. So here at this level, I'm going to bite on the Dragonair, and we can see this is a 2-hit KO at this point. We get to the Kingdra. Let's see what Crunch does here. It does nearly half. We still get one shot here, but at least we can see that we've got a better range to knock that Pokemon out. That may make all the difference. So I'm going to still lead off with the bites here on this one, hoping to take it down to lower health. We did just survive the surf there. I just didn't think we would survive after that, which is why I gave up on it. Still, we should be able to 2-hit KO the first Pokemon every time now. We get a nice flinch on the Kingdra. We might just need to flinch it one more time, and then we can get the victory. It's just maybe a 2 flinch range now rather than needing multiple flinches in order to get through that one. What I can certainly say is that 2 flinches is far more reasonable and likely than going for as many flinches as we were going for before. So I think we'll eventually get this one to go at this level. This time we get 2 flinches and then Crunch takes down that Kingdra. So we're on full health going to the next Dragonair. It misses its attack, so we simply knock it out. That brings us to the last of the Dragonairs. It flinches and we finally get the victory. So 3 rare candies burned there, but Houndour does eventually get through thanks to the stronger move plus the better ranges against those Dragonairs. We will take it, and now we just have to move on in the game, and we have to see if this Pokemon can hold up or not. I'm honestly not sure. It's starting to show some cracks, but it is legitimately in the running. It should still do pretty darn well against Willy Boy. I don't think we have any issues there. So if anything, it really will be a matter of what happens when we get deeper into the league. I have to think that Bruno ends this one. Like, he's Bruno, but I mean, he's at least smarter Bruno than Gen 1 Bruno. So just take that for what you will. And with that, we're just going to have to move on in this challenge and hope that we can actually get some wins when we need them. I'm also not sure about forgetting Sunny Day here and keeping the Mud Slap. I think Bite was still required. I think we still needed the flinches in order to have any chance there against Clair. And I think we need Crunch as our strongest same type move on the dark side, at least until we get through like Karen's Gengar, for example. And even against the champion Lance, we might need the special drop that comes from that move every now and then as our way to get through. So we're going to have to test that and see. But I think that we'll be able to get at least 2 Bruno, but then I think Bruno will end us. I don't even think we necessarily get to Lance with this Pokemon. Still, I'd love to be proven wrong, and maybe Houndour has something that I'm not thinking of right now, but we'll just have to test it and see as we get into the league itself. For now, though, it is Rival 5 time. I think we've got all the moves we need for him, but let's find out. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, we're going Flamethrower on the first Sneasel, and that's an easy one-hitter. Out comes the Feraligatr. I'm going to bite this Pokemon. It flinches. Let's see what Crunch does. Not quite enough. We lower its special defense, though, so we can go for anything and knock it out from there. That brings out the Golbat. I'm going to Crunch this Pokemon as well. It looks like a 2-hit KO, and so we easily get through. Kadabra comes out and can get crunched and completely wrecked. Same for the Haunter. Like, that's a scary move for those Pokemon. And then Magneton can get the Flamethrower. Just like that, we get through the Rivals super easy. Houndour wants to become a Houndoom and stand on the steps of the league, but we're like, no, you're perfectly fine as you are. And with that, we're ready to move on in this one. And that is the finish of basically the second to last episode of the Clair Minimum Battles series. So let's look at our results up to this point and check in on our challengers for next time and just make our all too early predictions of how it's actually going to end up. So coming back to our results so far through Clair, we get 2 more fire types through, bringing us to a total of 116 Pokemon that can legitimately beat Clair on minimum battles. And next time, we're coming back with our last 15. I know it shows the Pinsir still up there in the member picks, but I mentioned that last time. We ran that Pokemon. It's just because it's no longer supported by a member that it doesn't move into the pass column. If any member wants to pick it up, let me know. know, I will definitely check your comments. But next time, we are coming back with the last 15 challengers in this section. We have the 3 legendary birds of Kanto, which means we have the 3 legendary beasts of Johto as well. We've got the entire Dratini line. That Dratini is a member pick Pokemon, but the Dragonair and Dragonite are legitimately still in the running. We've got Mew, we've got Mewtwo, we've got Tyranitar, we've got Lugia and Ho-Oh, and of course we've got Celebi. And we can just drop our predictions here. I think this is a super easy one to predict. I do not think a single one of these Pokemon fails. I don't think they could possibly fail given everything that we've seen up to this point. Like, yes, some Pokemon like Dragonite will have at least one Dragonair on Claire's team that has a super effective Ice Beam against it and will be weak to all of the Dragon Breaths there. But I'm pretty sure that we just learn a move like Blizzard and get through at the very least. Once we give that Pokemon a strong physical move for the Kingdra, I think it simply gets through. I think all of the legendary birds and legendary beasts are just going to have enough power and enough stats to get through, even when it doesn't look like the prettiest setup. Mewtwo and Mew are going to be absolute beasts. Celebi is running on max DVs in this one, so I think it gets through perfectly fine as well, even though it doesn't have quite as strong of moves as those other mythical Pokemon. Tyranitar is going to be kind of interesting on the basis that it does have, again, a weakness to Claire, but I think it's just going to be able to find a way through with its dark type moves. Yeah, I just think that this is going to be a complete victory lap episode, so we'll just see how it actually works. Now, I will just mention again, I have opened up a Patreon for this channel as well, because one of the channel members, Holy Fatfish, asked me about it. He wanted to move over from YouTube to Patreon. Patreon is something that I actually really like having set up because, number one, Patreon pays creators a little bit better, but it also has DM features and things like that. So when people want to send me like an idea for a run or just a comment or suggestion, it's a little bit easier for people to directly contact me through the Patreon, whereas I on YouTube have to dig through all of the messages to find where was that message that somebody sent me before. And of course, patrons get the same benefits as being a channel member. You can save a Pokemon. If you want to join the Patreon as a person who's even already a channel member, feel free to save a second Pokemon as we go through this challenge. And if you're worried that we're really far into this series and it's about to be done, I will tell you that I am planning on having a second version of this series because we still have to figure out what happens in Heart Gold and Heart Silver when we run on minimum battles, which could be a very interesting and different experience given that so many moves are different, given that you have to do the Sprout Tower at the beginning. I'm sure plenty of the trainers have been repositioned so that they are either suddenly required or suddenly not required, and that could really change up the results as we go through the game. So that's in my near-term plans. We're going to finish up this series first, but once this is done, we will be into that, and we're going to have a ton of channel members right from the beginning. So when we start dropping Pokemon, people are going to be able to jump in and grab the ones that they want, plus a much bigger Pokedex to have of Pokemon that can actually be in that challenge. I think it will be a lot of fun when we get there. That's my background development project right now. So definitely comment if you're interested in that. And while you're at it, let me know if you're interested in a Gen 4 channel in general. You know, I mean, there is RBY Pokemon challenges, my doppelganger. There is, of course, RSC Pokemon challenges, who's just completely ripped off my entire format. But, you know, maybe I'm the one who leapfrogs them and goes and makes Diamond, Platinum, Pearl Pokemon challenges so that we have a proper Gen 4 channel and we can kind of stunt on those two guys. So, you know, just take that for what you will. Anyway, that does it for this one. I will see you guys in the next one. Later.